Hello and welcome to We Got Issues, the only comic book podcast that can confidently admit that Spider-Man's 2099 costume is the best Spider-Man costume. Sorry, spare Fantastic Four Bagman costume, you suck. Hi, I'm Brian Compton, aka BComp, and joining me as always is the hook hand to my Aquaman, Josh Markwith. How you doing, buddy?
I'm good. Very apropos for the episode for sure. That's a two of them that are very good.
Two for two.
And I saw I saw you wrote this too, and I was trying to think of like what is my favorite Spider-Man costume.
Yeah.
What do you have a favorite Spider-Man? Like 2099 is very much up there.
I mean, it's top three at the very least. I'm a big classic Spider-Man fan, but I'm not gonna lie, that 2099 is peak. I also admit I like the clone suit, the Scarlet Spider costume. I kind of like it.
I like the Scarlet Spider costume a lot. I like the hoodie look.
Yeah,
it was like a cropped hoodie, and I thought it was really cool. This is my little guilty pleasure. I like the Iron Spider suit. It grew on me.
I
thought it started looking pretty good.
The only thing I didn't like about Iron Spider was the 3 hooks that came out of his
3
back.
hooks. Yeah,
I was like, why is that? It should have been 4, because then it makes sense. Then it's like 8 legs or 8, 4 arms or whatever. It would have been like a spider. Instead it was like 7. Right. I was like, why is there 3? It always bugged me. That all said, I actually just picked up a copy of the first appearance of the black suit, Spider-Man 252. I was very excited to get that.
When I saw it, it was like, because I have that in a storage somewhere in Washington that I've gotten for a long time ago. Yeah,
don't lose that.
Well, just to be clear too, it's official appearance of the black suit in Amazing Spider-Man, not the Secret War one, but
Secret War, because Secret War, even though chronologically it takes place before, it didn't come out for another 4 or 5 issues after the book had already hit stands. Right. Which we all had to do an episode on that, because like the controversy behind that. You thought fanboys were bad. Now, holy
the black suit. Oh yeah.
It was a to-do, baby. Like to the point where literally they're like they did it, and the next issue, like they were like, get rid of it, and then they're like, oh my god, the book is selling through the roof. Like even at that time, issues were going like $50 on the market.
Oh, wow.
They're like, what are you doing? Don't get rid of it. Well,
that's crazy.
If you haven't guessed, go ahead.
Well, no, that's what I remember is when the Iron Spider-Man suit came out, they were saying like it hasn't been this controversial since the black suit. So yeah, that's been pretty crazy.
That makes sense. Well, if you haven't guessed by now, or by reading the show title with the description, we are talking about the late, great writer Peter David. The reason we say that is because Hook Hand Aquaman, he kind of was the guy who did that, as well as was the creator of the Spider-Man 2099. But of course, before we can get into all that, we've got a sponsor. I'm going to roll.
We still have a sponsor.
We do. We got plenty of sponsors. I'm going to roll the sponsor wheel right now. Is it going to be Apple? Still spinning.
That's Amazon? Really great Foley work right there, too.
I know. It's not Xbox. Oh, and today we've got, it's stopping, Wheel of Fortune style, Duff and Shaw Snacks.
What a surprise.
What a surprise.
Sponsor. We recorded that, and that's going to be on every episode now.
Every episode. You want to tackle this one?
Yeah. So, I mean, look, we want to make sure now, whether it's giant gummy anacondas, Nessie's golden eggs, or even the green apple alien gummies, you have your snack game in place with Duff and Shaw Snacks and candy, because they are curated from the most mysterious and undiscovered places on planet Earth. They're uncovering flavors that will give you stories to tell your grandchildren and their grandchildren's grandchildren and their children and their children, and they'll tell 2 friends, and they'll
keep going.
Yeah, exactly. That Wayne's World thing. Now we want you to go to duffandshaw.com/issues today, right now. Go as you're listening to this. You can multitask and check out all they've got and more. That's duffandshaw.com/issues, where the most legendary snacks in the world can finally be yours. And
Eh,
I have a
Go ahead.
lot of good stuff. I just ordered some more stuff too. So I
Okay,
got like
I
a
was gonna
new
say
Yeti
someone
mix or something.
someone ordered something. I was like, oh, cool, someone bought. Oh, it was just you.
It's me. I know it's me.
I saw
It
people
was
order
me.
come through. I'm like, holy shit! Oh man,
You know
someone.
what's
Oh,
awesome too, though?
what's
You know,
what's
I
that?
used the right URL, so that's
You
even good.
did. You did.
Yeah, no, I mean that's why we're so happy that they're a sponsor of the show because I mean it's great snacks that I mean I definitely and definitely like
Yeah,
it's it's something we can get behind. They have like a new
nice.
Yeti mix too that I want to try.
Yeah. Well, I was
It
gonna say,
looks really good.
Derek, an old producer on Attack of the Show, who I was just working with over at IGN, I turned him onto our podcast, and he was like, "Oh my god, this is really good." And then all of a sudden, I get a thing it's like, "Bing!" I'm like, "What? What's that?" He's like, "Well, I ordered some snacks. It's a good podcast, so I want to go order some snacks." I'm like, "Thanks,
Nice.
Derek."
That's
So
exactly how it should be. Thank you, Derek.
thank you,
Thank you, Derek.
Derek.
Yeah, and also what's funny is there's a little connection. Derek was the PA when I was the intern at G4. That's
Oh
how way
man,
back when. Yeah.
that's funny. Yeah, I've worked with Derek for like off and on for the last like 15, 20 years now. On Attack and a few other shows. So I hope you're enjoying the podcast, Derek. And when you're ready, we'll have you on as a guest. It'd be fun to
And
have
my
him on.
brother worked for with Derek
That's
too.
true.
That's
That's
how
true. Yeah.
like full circle this business
Yeah.
can be sometimes.
It's true. It's true. Well, speaking of IGN Live, I actually want to give a shout out real quick while we had a minute. I ran into a few fans
We
while
have
we were
fans
well, yes, at
out in the
IGN
wild
Live,
that not my
down the
parents or
wild,
my
like,
family.
they recognized me. Like, literally, I got the, "Excuse me, are you BComp?" I'm like, "I am," and they're like, "Oh my god." So I ran into a couple, Lacey and Lewis, and they were absolutely awesome. I told them about the podcast. Hopefully, you're listening to it now, but they were totally cool. They knew me from all the way back in, like, the old G4 days with, like, Blair Butler and
Oh
Nerdist
wow.
and everything like that, and then I ran into one of our PAs who was on site, the last day, literally, as we're leaving, this kid Carlos walks he was like, "Excuse me, are you BComp?" I'm like, "Yeah, I am." He's like, "Oh my god, I'm such a huge fan." And he knew me. I was like with Cassim and all that. I was like,
Oh
"Yeah."
wow.
Like, I wish I could have talked to him more, but it was like the last day. And I was like signing out, but it was really nice to to be just like spotted in the wild and be like, "Oh my god, are you
That's
this
so
person?"
cool.
It really was. It was neat. And so hopefully we can grow that, and you and I can
Yeah, so
find some more
I
of that
will
stuff.
amend my previous statement of saying we have fans in the wild. I think you have fans in the wild, which is
You
really
have
cool.
fans by extension now because they're gonna
Yeah, by
listen to the
extension.
podcast
Oh
and they're
my
gonna they're
goodness.
gonna love you.
Hi guys, how's it going? Oh, cool. Yeah, can I come? Goodness.
Well, as we had mentioned, last episode, we said we're going to be focusing on the Punisher origin, one of the Punisher origin arcs called the Platoon. But last month, sadly, we lost one of the greatest writers in pop culture. His name is Peter David. And unfortunately, for many people, and that includes many comic fans out there, they just don't know how goddamn awesome Peter David was. So we decided we were going to take a break from what we were working on and focus on him and talk about him today.
Yeah, I think we really just wanted to discuss Peter David and just how much of an impact he's had not only in our comic history, but also just in everybody's comic history as well. I think he's one of those quintessential 90s writers like Busiek or Claremont or even
Mark
Miller,
Wade.
Mark Wade. Yeah, you always got to, there's
I mean,
Bing,
there's
there's
a
a way
reason
to mention. No, that's
he's
very
the
true.
goat. He's the
That's very
goat.
true. No, I mean, so what I was when we were reading kind of through his stuff, it just reminded me of when we were reading through Wildstorm and how I was not a big fan of Wildstorm because it was everything I disliked about the 90s,
Mhm.
where all the Peter David stuff is the great stuff about the 90s.
That
Like that
that is a
that's kind of the
great way of looking at it.
thank you. It's what I really just liked how he kind of progressed the
Mhm,
storylines and the characters and
mhm,
he was really the shepherd of a lot of these teams, a lot of these characters that we don't even know about now if it wasn't for him like shepherding them through
mhm.
the tumultuous time of extreme 90s. So it
Yeah,
was good.
absolutely. Honestly, the biggest thing he's probably known for is like his take on the Incredible Hulk.
Yes.
Um, it's while he didn't create the Hulk, it's not an exaggeration to say he perfected him. I mean, every
Yeah.
version we know of the Hulk is because of Peter David, you know? Um, I was gonna say, it's like he made Aquaman cool. like,
which
yeah,
at the time was super hard. He wasn't known as he's much cooler now. I think he's gotten
because of Peter
because
David,
of
he's
Peter
cool
David.
now.
Yeah,
Yeah,
exactly.
he completely
He's more of a
redefined.
monarch and very
Yeah.
regal. And, it's because of how Peter David is, and the like we said at the beginning, the hook hand, which
Hmm.
was how he got it, which is a huge moment for the character.
Hmm.
And then the look of it
Hmm.
was awesome. 90s.
Yeah.
It's again,
Yes.
it's extreme stuff, or it's stuff like that,
Yep.
but it makes sense. It's not to do it. It's not seemingly not to do it just to do it.
Yeah.
So, like you said, the Hulk stuff too, with the
Yeah.
Pantheon and
Yeah.
things that
Well,
come up again, and
the multiple personality, the
yeah,
Mr. Fix-It, the Gray Hulk, making Hulk the Professor Hulk. I mean, all that stuff, dealing with like daddy issues and it's like trauma and all of that, like that almost like Shakespearean kind of like background, like that he infused into the character. I mean, that's all Peter David, man. And that was
right,
because well, we'll probably get into this a little bit, but like before Peter David, Hulk was just Hulk smash, army chase me through the
right,
desert. I smash more things. Oh, I'm a misunderstood monster. I'm gonna go hide in the desert, and no one wanted to write him because it's like, oh, it's just monster clawing his way through the desert fighting the U.S. Army. Great, you
right.
know. He
That's
changed
so
all that.
cool,
He
and
changed all that.
a lot of that stuff has gone and impacted how cool the Hulk is now, in a sense of, I mean, like the
Absolutely,
daddy issues and stuff. Like the whole Immortal
absolutely.
Hulk was a lot of
Hmm.
that, and even
Well, even
the Hulk movie. If we
yeah, I
would
was gonna say
have
you.
Nick Nolte as his dad.
Well, there's that too, but I mean, like, even, like, the MCU version of it, like, the Mark Ruffalo, it's all built
Mhm.
upon that, you know what I mean? So, it's not hyperbole to say, like, he really had an impact on the world of pop culture, and that's not even counting, like, all of his other books, whether it's Supergirl or Young Justice or Spider-Man 2099 or whatever, He created one of your favorite Hulk villains,
One of my favorite villains of all time. I mean,
oh,
I love
there you go.
Maestro. Like Maestro
Yeah.
is one of my favorite villains of all time. And if you don't know, he is a future Hulk that has survived like this nuclear holocaust, or just apocalypse, and it made him even stronger and even smarter. And he basically rules the world as this Hulk dictator who, you like, if you think about it, who can beat him when he's at that time? He's like the strongest
Yeah, strong
version of the
suits,
Hulk almost, right?
yeah, 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 yeah.
Other than World Breaker, I think he's one of the strongest versions of him.
Yeah, he again, well, we can talk about Maestro or Maestro, whatever, all day long. He was such a great villain. They came back and did several more miniseries surrounding his sort of
Which
rise
I
to
love
power.
those miniseries,
Yep,
like
and those were written by
the
Peter
prequel
David too.
miniseries. Yeah,
Yep.
exactly.
Yeah.
There's a great moment where he just storms into Doom's castle,
Mhm.
and he's defeats all those Doom bots and everything. He comes up to Doctor Doom like face to face, and he's just like, you see, he has the angry Hulk face, and Doctor Doom is just standing there, and he just goes, "Doctor, doctor, would you come in for some food?" He's like, "Yes, please."
Doctor,
Like, yeah, he's
doctor.
like, "Doctor, doctor," and they're like, "Please come in and have some food." "Oh, thank you, I'm hungry." And then Hercules, if you that's
It's
a
great. You
great
should
book
just
to
read it.
go. Yeah,
Yeah.
it's
It's
so fun.
it's funny, one of my favorite Peter David future far-flung stories is called The Last Avengers Story, and I know it doesn't probably resonate as well now as it did when I read it when I was, like, in the '90s, because it definitely was, like, a little edgelordy, but it was so cool because, like, in it, like, Cannonball is a member of the Avengers, and, like, I forget there's, like, one point where I think the Hulk is in it, and he, like this is how edgelord it is, he, like, literally grabs Tigra and says grabs her by the arm and the legs and just, like, and just make a wish, and you're just
Oh,
like,
I've seen that panel. Yeah,
"Fudge," I was like, oh, man, and, again, the thing that's interesting is, like, we're bringing up all these, like, extreme things that Peter David did, but it's like, it was all within the confines of the character, just going to the but the dude was also legitimately funny, like,
yeah,
legitimately one of the funniest writer, like, laugh out loud funny.
yeah. A lot of it's like a lot of the stuff when we're gonna discuss one of his
Yeah,
books in depth, but they had a lot of funny moments and a lot of avenues to be funny in
yeah,
that.
yeah.
But also too, like he wasn't just a great comic writer. I think Brian, you may know some. what's this other, like, it's like another fandom. It's not Star Wars. It's not as good as Star Wars.
Oh, Battlestar Galactica. No.
Battlestar Galactica. No, Babylon
Which
5.
he yeah, which to be fair, he did write for both of those.
Oh goodness. But
I'm
no,
pretty
no,
sure
he did a lot of
yes.
Star Trek novels, right?
Yes, not only did he okay, so, like, he is arguably, and I say this without, like, exaggeration, he is arguably the best Star Trek Next Gen novel writer, like, the actual, like, little, like, those novels, those pocket
Yeah,
novels.
yeah, yeah. Oh goodness.
I know it sounds silly, but his books in Star Trek were, like, literally missing episodes, like, they are so vivid when you read them, you're like, "Wait a minute, I know I watched that episode, like, there's no way." There's literally an episode that's how good they're there's an
Yeah.
issue or a book called Q-in-Law where Lwaxana Troi, Deanna Troi's mother, gets the powers of Q, and it's effing hilarious. It's so funny. It's so good. And then there's another one called Vendetta where he manages to combine the Doomsday Machine from TOS into the Borg world and like combine that and make that make sense. There's other ones with Q. Yeah, there's Imzadi. There's so many great books. I mean, it was so good they eventually just gave him his own corner of the next gen universe. Like, here's all these cast off characters like Dr. Solar or so and so, and you're going to have your own little universe like Commander Shelby, and like you literally can just go explore this and don't have to worry about continuity because we don't care about any of these characters, and you can do whatever you want with them. It's called New Frontier, and it was a mix of novels, like short novels and long novels, and comic books. It was excellent. It totally is full. In fact, it's like it's one of the things like even my Star Trek friends know who Peter David was.
Oh wow, wow.
Yeah.
And honestly, if you know Brian as well as like anybody, or if you've even talked to him in the street for like 5 minutes, you know how big of a next gen nerd Brian is. So you can really take all that to the bank. Really,
No, it's
I put
absolutely
money
true.
on it.
It was funny. My buddy Daniel and I, my roommate in college, we went to Comic Con back when you could walk into Comic Con in San Diego, and we walked by, and I'm like, "Oh shoot, that's Peter David right there in the booth." My buddy's like, "Wait, what?" Like he knew who Peter David was. He's
Wow,
like,
wow.
"That guy." So yeah, it's cool, man. Even like my buddy Ross, who's like a big Star Trek guy, he knew who Peter David was. He's like, "Oh yeah, I've read Imzadi. Imzadi's great."
Brian, you seem to have a lot of buddies. Are you cheating on me, Brian? I thought we were friends.
Well, there's tiers of buddy. There's tiers of
Cheers,
buddy.
a buddy.
There's
All right, well,
comic book
whatever.
buddy. There's Star Trek buddy.
I'm
There's
not jealous. Whatever, start whatever. Like I knew like
I
maybe two of those names that you just said on that whole
I
thing.
tried to get you to watch it with me, but you fell asleep
I've
on my
seen all
couch
of
due
Next
to
Gen.
me.
I've
Go
watched
on.
all of Next Gen once. I
It's
know
great.
I did. That was yeah. I did try to watch one episode and I fell asleep with meat sweats on the after a Korean
On
barbecue. Yeah,
on a cold Christmas night, it'd be
yeah,
pulled up
exactly.
off the couch.
Yeah, exactly. It was not one of my best moments. You know, like you get an Italian sandwich and
Yeah.
it's all kind of greasy and stuff. That's how I felt. It was great.
That's funny.
But yeah, I mean,
Uh,
we're gonna stay a little bit away from the
we're gonna stay with it,
Star
but that
Trek.
was just I had to rant a little bit about it just to kind of
Yeah,
highlight
no,
him.
no, save it for that other show that you with your other buddy, the
Oh, my
Star
Star Trek
Frack,
buddy,
whatever.
Star Frack.
Yeah,
Yeah.
other Star, whatever.
I gotta bring that show back. Maybe we'll put that on this
Sure.
one too. We'll put that as like we'll do
Well,
a
why
Star
don't
Trek
we?
adjacent
Well,
show.
yeah, why don't we have yeah, the host Steven on that too,
Yeah,
on
so
here too.
probably. Yeah.
Stuff time. I mean,
Yeah, it's so
we have them on here too. I mean, it'd be great.
Yeah. Yeah,
But
that would be
okay,
let's get back on task to Peter David.
we don't do tangents. We stay on track. We have a script. We stay on track.
But-
Peter David, you know, he has a huge bibliography, right? And I say that in confidence of saying bibliography correctly. Now, like we said, he has Spider-Man 2099. He has what the Hulk,
Young
Aquaman,
Justice, the Incredible Hulk,
Justice.
Aquaman, Supergirl, like
Yeah,
I mean,
so
all significant runs.
yeah. So we had a little bit of like a conference of like which one do we, because we are talking about Peter David, but we have to do a little bit of our we got issues kind of pixie dust on it. We want to give you a book that you can actually go and read, and we're going to break it down for you, so you can kind of massage your way into the Peter Davidness.
Well, this is and the X Factor is a great way because it was such a short run.
And there's X Factor.
Oh, did you want me to not say that yet? Let's go back and delete
we're good.
that.
Yeah, no, we're talking about X Factor. Yeah, that's the one we're talking about. We're gonna do his first run on X Factor.
Yeah. Do you want to tackle the blurb on the back?
Yeah, yeah. Oh, I'm sorry, but finish your thought about X Factor though.
I was just gonna say the reason so yeah, like I said, he's done lots of runs on various books, but like the thing is, like the Hulk run is like hundreds of issues. I forget what it's like. It's
Mhm.
like good, like it's 5 omnis. Like I mean, like giant size
Yeah,
omnis. Like
yeah.
his work on Supergirl, I think is like 80 issues. His work on Aquaman's like 50. You know what I mean? Like the dude wrote, he was prolific, and it's like to really kind of get into it. I think like this is a good like dip your toe into Peter David because I do
Mhm.
think this is quintessential Peter David with the humor and all that. So we decided to do his X Factor run, which did get cut short in the
Mhm.
90s because of reasons. There was numerous factors involved in why it
Heyo.
all stopped. But he does come back to the book later on in the mid 2000s and goes on for a good
Mhm.
long solid run. So this is one of those things where you can read this like, hey, this is really fun and entertaining. Great. Well, you got some good stuff coming
Yeah,
then now.
cause and it's also it helps too that it's X-Men or
Yeah.
it's like a version of the X-Men.
Yep.
I think that's a good
Yeah.
leeway into other stuff because it's recognizable characters in some
Yeah.
way, or at least the general
Yeah. Well, the best way to
X-Men
describe
is.
I mean, we'll talk about it in a second, but I mean, X Factor, well, why don't you read the blurb on the back, then
Yeah, let's
we'll
go
go
with the
there.
blurb on the back and we'll break it down. So this is from the hardcover omnibus collecting his first run of the X team. And this is the blurb. Havoc, Polaris, Quicksilver, Multiple Man, Wolfsbane, and Strong Guy are the all new, all different X Factor, sanctioned by the US government to protect humans from mutants and vice versa. They take on threats including Mr. Sinister and his nasty boys, the Mutant Liberation Front, and the Incredible Hulk. But their most challenging encounter is on the couch with a superhero psychiatrist, Doc Samson. Whether it's battling the Brotherhood of Evil Mutants in the shadow of Genosha or clashing with X Force during the Executioner Song saga, this unlikely band of heroes has team chemistry like nothing you've ever seen and a unique style of humor that makes this series a true classic.
Absolutely. Good read, by the way.
Yes. Well, thank you.
Uh, yeah, no, Peter David's run is basically the government version of the X-Men. It only ran
Mhm.
from about technically, he started the book on issue 70, but the government team starts on issue 71 and ran through issue 89. So a little less than 20 issues. If you include the annuals, it's about 20 issues total. There was a couple of crossovers, like you said, with Executioner's Song, which we'll talk to about in a little bit, as well as a crossover with the Incredible Hulk, which he was also writing at the time. We'll do the deep dive in a moment, but as always, Josh, how did you read this book? Was it recently, long time ago, trades, singles, and what were your general thoughts about it all?
So it wasn't recently. It was a few years ago where I got into it because I reread Executioner Song. And I've
Mhm,
always known about this X Factor team. Like
mhm.
I had like issues here and there, like way back when you could just like find them at random,
Stores.
garage sales or
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
stores and things like that. Like, I've always known about this
Barbershop.
specific team. Yeah, exactly. The barbershop. And like I knew about the specific team because there was even an episode on the 90s, the old X-Men cartoon where it was X Factor.
Oh,
And
nice.
yeah, it was kind of like if I remember correctly, like Iceman was like part of it. Like there was a little bit of like a romantic triangle between Iceman, Polaris, and Havoc, where like
Okay.
Iceman and Polaris used to go out, and then like
Yeah, yeah, which I think is in the
Seven.
comics too. I think they did in the
Yeah.
comics for a little bit.
So I mean, and but then I reread Executioner Song because that's one of my fun X-Men
That's a
comics
fun
that I
book.
like
That's
to.
a fun
Oh
cross.
yeah, I love it.
That's fun 90s crossover.
Yeah, yeah. So and then I got from there I went back and reread pretty much the whole series starting from like where we were at. So where the issue like for Peter David.
71.
Yeah, cuz that's when 71 is when he has this team. Like
Yeah,
before that X Factor was just X-Men
yeah, X-Men with
the
yeah.
old X-Men
The
team.
OG team, yeah.
Yeah, the OG team. Um so and I really liked the characters. I liked how Quicksilver was in it.
Mhm.
Which is funny if you think about it now too. Like Quicksilver and Polaris were on the team, essentially brother and sister, or like half brother,
Yeah,
half sister,
half brother, half
and not
brother and
even
sister.
knowing it
Yeah.
at the time. I mean, and I'm still. I don't care what the continuity is right now.
Oh,
He's
yeah.
always going to
We'll
be
talk about we'll
Magneto's
talk
son. Yeah,
We'll
yeah.
talk about that in a second.
But
We'll
that's
save
the
that for the Quicksilver
that's my
discussion.
half soapbox right now. Um, but that was just yeah. So it's just a lot of fun. Like it's within my '90s
Mhm.
era of reading.
Mhm. Okay.
What about you?
Well, ironically enough, 73, X Factor 73 and 74 were actually some of the first comics I actually ever bought in an actual comic book store. Up to that point, everything I had bought was either off the news rack or at a comic or a Star Trek convention, actually, or like, yeah, yeah, or at a used bookstore. But I vividly remember like picking up like 73 and 74, and specifically 74. I remember because on the cover is a green dude in purple, but I knew it wasn't the Hulk. And I was like, "Oh," and I remember my buddy was a big Infinity Gauntlet guy, so I was like, "Oh, it's that guy Drax, I think." Turns out it was just a miscoloring on the cover, and it's
Oh
actually the
wow.
dude's like pasty white and brown pants. His name is Slab, but
Oh god, yeah,
whatever.
yeah.
Yeah, whatever. I genuinely loved I was like, even when I was reading, I'm like, I knew this was special. There was something, it was hilariously funny. Like,
Hmm.
it was great, like, it was over the top and dramatic, and I was just like, I didn't actually end up collecting all those issues until, like, years later because it was like, I didn't have a lot of money. It was like when I was in high school, but I managed to, like, find most of those issues over time and then read them. And now, of course, they're all collected in trade, so they're easy to read,
Right.
but man, they were a lot of fun, and they still hold up very, very well.
That's what's great about this book too. When I was rereading, it's like, oh yeah, this is still a fun group, fun introduction, fun group.
What I loved as well, there's a few things that are a little, like, of its time, but
Yeah.
because Peter David is as progressive as he was, even back then, he was always fighting on the right side of history,
Hmm.
and it's why, you get to now and it still reads well, I think in many ways, like, you know what I mean? Like, he was always we can get into it a little bit, but I think that there's a reason it holds.
It's the opposite to me of Stormwatch, or yeah, or
Oh, yeah.
Stormwatch.
Yeah. Dropping those
Uh,
N-bombs in there, I was like, "Whoa."
yeah, exactly. Ooh,
Yeah.
we didn't need like it wasn't. It's to put it in a way. It's not edgy for edginess sake, if that makes
Yeah.
sense. Like I said
No,
before, like it made sense the reason for the edginess, even though
yeah.
it's like they told him like, "Hey, we need this to be, more like edge lord. We need basically
Huh.
we need to pouch it up." That's my new thing now. I'm gonna say for
Pouch it up.
anything yeah, for anything like it needs to be more '90s, more edgy. You have to pouch it up, like give it more pouches.
That's
And
funny.
like it's like the editors told him that he needed that, and then he was like, "Okay, I'm not just
Well
gonna put it there. I'm gonna make it make sense."
well, the thing is too, it's like it would've been really easy, especially in the '90s, to, like, punch down and, like, attack
Yeah.
gay characters. I mean, there are gay jokes in there, but they're kind of played the right way, if that makes sense. It's more of mistaken identity at times, but it's not,
Mm.
like, punching down, and I always, like, really appreciated that about the book. Making it and it's making fun of some of the PC culture, but, like, kind of, like, winking at you. I don't know if the winking at you is the right time word for it, but it was, like, it's kinda pointing out the ridiculousness of some of the stuff, but not like making fun of it. It was more just like highlighting, like, yeah, this is a thing. I mean, it's definitely a product in its time in the sense that like it's making references to things that are happening in the media at that moment, like
Mm.
a lot of Bill Clinton jokes or Batman jokes. Like there's a lot of Batman jokes in
There
there,
was the
ironically.
very beginning, Sean Young jokes.
Yeah, 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 Sean Young, or the fact that, like, Guido, aka Strong Guy, is, like, hanging upside down to sleep. It's like that's
Right.
what, Kim Basinger finds, Michael Keaton doing it in the Batman
Right.
movie. So it's a lot of that, like, oh, yeah, that's a lot of wink, wink, nudge, nudge. Hey, do you remember this '90s thing? Because that's a thing. But,
I love
anyway,
the shout out to the Great Mouse Detective. I it's one of my old school
you like that
Disney
one.
movie.
Yeah,
It's just like it's an old it's what I watched as a kid. So it's just
yeah.
like that was just a nice little shout out for that.
Well, let's talk a little bit about the creative team. Obviously,
No,
we're
I
gonna
don't
talk
want to.
most. Okay, fair enough.
No,
Alright.
okay, let's move on. No,
Silence.
yeah, let's talk.
Crickets.
So yeah, so before we dive even deeper into Peter David, though, we got to talk about the artists that go and kind
Yep.
of went with him. So, Brian, like, can you tell me a little bit more about Larry Stroman?
Yeah, Larry Strummer was the primary artist for the Peter David run. He's an African American artist whose book Tribe is actually cited as like the highest selling book created by African American creators and sold over 1 million copies over at Image. Of course, it was like canceled right after that because of the image implosion that happened at the time, but that's a whole story in and of itself. He's known for his like stylized art and unique perspectives. His For me, his art has like this sort of like stretched look, if that makes any sense. It feels like everything is
Mhm.
like being pulled, but it's like heavy in that
Get that, yeah.
detail. He was trained in graphic design, and it really shows in his art with the sort of odd movement and odd angles that he has. You can even argue there's sort of like a funk slash hip hop style to his art as well, which made it stand out from all of the other Marvel books at the time. You know, it was very clearly a Larry Stroman book versus like generic artists working on Spider Man. You know what I mean? The closest artist I could see maybe of that ilk was like Willis Petruccio or maybe even like Joe Quesada. And it really did stand out on the rack. Not only did he kind of come onto this book at the start with Peter David, he's also responsible for creating the looks and the uniforms for the team. It was literally they're like,
Mhm.
yeah, you can do whatever you want, create it however you want to do it. And I gotta say, I love those government uniforms. I thought they looked dope
They're
as
very
hell.
nice. I love,
Yeah,
Havoc's uniform, like, I
yeah.
just like the
That
look
that
of that.
it was like that old like Star Trek TOS jacket, not TOS, rather the movie jacket, had like the flap that was kind
Oh,
of
yeah, yeah,
open,
yeah.
and they all had like the gambit headgear and all that, and multiple men has the overcoat like multiple men
Yeah,
or
that's what
gambit and all that.
it was kinda like, a mix in between, like, the spandex, but then also the, Grant Morrison, leather jacket. It
Black
was
leather,
like
yeah, yeah,
the mix in between those, so it was ahead of
absolutely.
its time at the time, and I liked, a lot of his art was very, like, angly, if that's even
Hmm.
a
Yeah,
right word,
yeah,
'cause,
yeah,
like,
absolutely. No,
all
I
the
get it. Yeah,
hairstyles are just like, like,
yeah,
a weird triangle or some, like,
yeah. Like
a
cut up and
polygram.
then down. Yeah, it's like
Yeah,
it's
yeah,
almost like flock
he's
of seagulls in a weird way. Like,
right, 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 yeah, I liked how his art, like you said, it was very, it was like graphic design. It was just, or even, what do I wanna say? Not montage, but, gosh, what it's a bunch of pictures on one thing.
not a collage.
Not collage, but yeah, but you know what I mean. It's very,
Okay.
yeah, it's something like, we'll keep
I
that
like I
in.
said, yeah. Like I said, I like his art. It really just stood out, which, like I said, for a book or a series of books, especially with the X books at the time, when you have like
Mhm.
Jim Lee and Rob Liefeld and Willis Producer and all those other guys like doing those books, it stood out from those books. I don't necessarily say it was better than necessarily Jim Lee's art because I think Jim Lee was Jim Lee peak right then,
Oh, yeah.
but it had its own voice,
That's
and I thought it
yeah.
was the only other artists, I mean, there's a bunch of one-offs in there as well because Stroman only stayed on for a few issues after 75. So you had people like Joe Quesada and Jay Lee. The Jay Lee issues only show up during the Executioner
The
song arc,
Executioner
but
song stuff. They're so good.
they're so
They're
good.
so different
So,
from
oh my,
his current art too.
well, they are so different from the other issues in the
Oh, for
Executioner
sure.
song crossover. Like it's like generic, generic. Whoa, this is a Jay Lee
Yeah,
issue.
it's so good.
It's gorgeous,
The detail
effing
is
gorgeous.
just even that, the panel of, just when X-Force and X-Factor are starting to fight, so, like,
Yeah,
the panel of, Havoc and Polaris just standing there, and, like, Havoc's just, everything is, print worthy. If you get
shadowed.
it, Shadow's so really, but it's like every panel is almost like print worthy, where, like, you could
Yes.
get a little poster of it and get it signed. Like, even, his Strife,
Yeah. Yep.
image,
Oh, yeah.
that's the image
Yeah.
used for the, almost every hardcover.
Yeah, it's absolutely gorgeous. Like that Jay Lee stuff, and it's only 3 issues, but man, it's worth the wait. Like
Yeah,
those issues are great. And the only like I said, the other artist, Joe Quesada, and again, Joe Quesada, just
we could have
based
our
on
own.
his
Yeah.
tenure at Marvel, deserves his own thing. But needless to say, he's a great artist as well.
Yeah, yeah, he's definitely, he has a lot of
There's a lot of baggage along with
yeah,
him
there's
as
a lot
well.
of bag. I know, it's because I mean, we can get into the ninjack of it all, but, um,
Ninjak's cool looking.
it's cool
So is
looking.
Ash, so
Yeah.
was his Daredevil run was really pretty, like he's a good artist, you
Yeah.
know?
Yeah, he did Spider-Man too as well, I think
Yeah.
while
Was
ruining
one more
Spider-Man.
well, it was a one more day, wasn't it? Like, or
Yeah,
was it no more
exactly.
yeah. Was it one
At
more day? Was
least
it what
he illustrated his not great decisions, but that's let's neither
That's
here nor
fine.
there. That's for another episode at another time at
Like I said,
another
that's what I'm
date.
saying. He deserves his own discussion. But anyway,
Yeah,
his X Factor stuff is still a lot of fun. It's very expression and very it's a mix almost like of manga meet not manga, but has like an anime or rather not manga, but like an animated style meets
yeah.
comic books. I actually really do love Joe Quesada's art. But I digress. Let's get into Peter David.
Let's get into the reason why we're on this episode, really, and I guess he's kind of self-described as a writer of stuff. And that's really just kind of like an understatement. Like we said,
Yeah.
he has written video games, novels, comics, cartoons, films. I mean, he was just an unrelenting workhorse.
Yes. Like I said, I mentioned earlier how like Star Trek fans, my Star Trek fans knew who he was, and honestly, it's he was known kind of like for by two different audiences,
Mhm.
comic book fans and Trekkers, or Trekkies if you want to call them that.
Is that really two different audiences? Okay. If you think
There's a
about it, I
Venn,
think there's a
there is
lot of
there
Venn
the Venn,
diagrams.
there's a big section in the Venn diagram. But I will say, just because you're a Trekker doesn't mean you're a comic fan, and vice versa. Although they do cross over quite a bit.
Oh, I never asked you too. Is it Trekkers or Trekkies? I know that's a whole thing.
I'll make it quick.
Oh god.
Trekkers.
Oh god. No. Did I just open Pandora's box or like
Yeah, a
a
little bit.
oh no.
Trekkies are like true people who like Star Trek consider themselves to be Trekkers because Trekkies is sort of like that yuppies like insult kind of term. So most
Mhm.
like hardcore Star Trek fans refer to themselves as Trekkers because just the negative connotation that goes to Trekkies. I'll leave it at that.
Oh,
I've heard
gotcha,
other
gotcha.
I've heard other versions of it. I tend to just say I like Star Trek and
Oh,
leave it at
gotcha.
that.
Hey, tell us what you think in the comments. All right.
Let us know.
Um, now, I mean, Peter David's writing style could really be categorized as like a mix of character change and growth, heart and heartbreak, and lots of humor, like lots and lots of humor.
Lots of humor.
He likes to do the pop culture jokes and just like keep it really meta, like we've said. The in this book, the Wayne's World dream
Yeah.
thing, the
Rain's World,
yeah, and then Rain and Stimpy.
Rain and
Uh,
Stimpy.
yeah.
There's a Hulk issue that he did. I think Gary Frank did the art. I think it's Hulk 431, where he's trying to hide his identity, and Betty, his wife, slaps a big green fin on his head, and he's clearly Savage Dragon.
Okay.
he's like, he's like, no one's gonna buy this that I'm that I'm not the Hulk.
God. Man, it's just stuff like that. And I mean, speaking of like it's stuff like that that made Incredible Hulk, his Incredible Hulk, really good. And just like
It's so
speaking of
good.
that too, it's just that was his breakout book that made him a household name. I mean, well, I mean, at least as much of a household name in comics as you
As you
can
can
be.
get.
Yeah, because I mean, what you're saying is like at the time, Marvel sales department like
Yeah, he
had
worked in the Marvel sales
wasn't
department
really good.
before he even jumped onto
Okay.
Incredible Hulk. He worked in the sales department, and he was
Wow.
trying, and they're like, "Well, hey, guys, there's this Hulk book over here. Nobody wants. Do you want it?" And he was like, "Please, let me write." He had written a few issues before that, like Spectacular Spider-Man, like the Death of Gene DeWolf and all that, but when he got the Hulk, that's when Peter David became Peter David. Um,
That seems to happen a lot with like a lot of these characters. Like
yep.
you pointed out like Greg Pak's Incredible Hulk. Nobody was
Yes.
paying attention to the Hulk. He was like, I'll
Oh,
take it,
yeah.
and then just skyrocketed. Guardians of the Galaxy.
Same thing.
The same
Yeah,
thing.
it wasn't yeah.
Hawkeye. The same thing. I mean,
Yeah.
it just seems like when you give the writers a lot of leeway, it can be
Mhm.
good, it can be bad. But I mean, with great writers, it can be great.
Well, that's the thing is, like, you don't tend to remember the bad runs as much as you remember the good runs,
That's
you know
very
what I
true.
mean? I mean, Peter David's, like, run on Hulk went for 12 years and was nearly 140 uninterrupted issues. Like, I think there's only 2 issues he didn't do. It was, like, one, like, he refused to write, and the other one was, like, I think it was because his artist was not meeting the deadline, so they just, like, did a fill-in issue. But,
Yeah, and to put that into context, so that's very rare for that to happen, right?
yes.
That's like,
Yeah.
Bendis maybe did that with Ultimate Spider-Man, and that's really all
Nah,
I can think
yeah.
of off the top of my head.
I mean, the closest, like you said, Stanley and and Kirby did, I think, like 108 issues of Fantastic Four. That was like
Mhm.
one of the biggest runs. I mean, you don't see anybody really topping out over 100 issues often. To get to
Oh yeah.
140 is like it's one of the big ones. I mean, yes, you've got Eric Larson doing Savage Right. He's like almost on issue 300 right now. And there is Cerberus. Obviously, it was David Sim who did that for 300 issues. So it does happen. It's just it's very very rare.
Yeah, I mean, and for even more context of that, those are creator owned, or
Yeah.
creator owned books. Like these are stuff he did not create in a part of a bigger
Yeah, part of
machine,
a
if
bigger
I just
world. Yeah.
say so.
Well, especially to manage to work within that machine
Right.
and keep it going, you know. As we mentioned, like the book is a focus on the sort of multi-personality disorder. And his success on the book not only revitalized the character, but became the standard in which all Hulk stories are compared against. I mean, literally, I mean, you think about it, like when you talk about like, oh, the greatest runs, it's Peter Davis is number one,
Mhm.
and then you could argue like people like Greg Pak, with Planet Hulk or
Al
Al
Ewing.
Ewing, yeah, doing Immortal Hulk. Yeah, I mean, he's the one who introduced Mr. Fix It, and that's the gray version of Hulk, who's like the bouncer in Vegas. Professor Hulk, like you said, your favorite character, the Maestro, the evil future
Yeah.
Hulk.
I mean,
And he
in a
also,
way, without that,
yeah,
we
go ahead.
wouldn't have like the Red Hulk stuff too. I think
Yeah.
because you just can't imagine other different types of Hulks.
Absolutely, absolutely. He also wrote other ones. He wrote She-Hulk for a little bit, as long as some spin-offs and the minis, and so all told, like his work on the Hulk is around 200 issues or so. I would say.
Pretty crazy for the Hulk.
Yeah.
Well, like you said before that, it was just a dude in the desert being
It
chased
was
by
a
the
monster book.
military.
It was a monster book.
That's all it was. It was Godzilla essentially, but just like, oh, Godzilla's running around again. Here's send him to the military. Oh no, he got away. I'm Thunderbolt Ross. I'm mad. Okay,
Yeah.
next
Oh man,
issue.
they should have a Godzilla versus the Hulk
They did. They
book.
did.
Oh, was the book?
That
Or
was
was
one
it
of
or the
the
Avengers?
well, they did. They did. It starts off FF, and I'm pretty sure it's
Lately,
FF's.
Godzilla has been fighting everybody lately. He's fought the Power
Yeah, not only
Rangers.
is
He's
it,
fought the
well, there's
Justice League. He's fought.
well, keep in mind there's two different. Remember, there's the legendary Hulk, and then there's the Toho, or rather, legendary Godzilla, and there's the
Uh,
Toho Godzilla. The legendary Godzilla, the one that fights the Justice League, and the Toho one is the one who's fighting the Marvel universe. Because remember, Godzilla had his own book in the
right.
Marvel
Yeah. Yeah.
universe,
Yeah.
Marvel canon, like Iron Man
Yeah.
fought him and stuff. But yeah, recently they did a bunch of one shots, and I think they're going to culminate with like a big like Marvel universe versus the Hulk. But I want to say it's Hulk, Spidey, the X-Men, and the FF, and I think they're doing an Avengers one, and then I think it
Hmm.
culminates with like Hulk versus the Marvel Universe or something like that soon. But
Oh wow, wow, wow. That's
versus Godzilla.
yeah. The Godzilla stuff is crazy right now. It's a
Yeah,
good
it's a little
time to be
bit.
a Godzilla fan, really. So
I've heard the Godzilla book at IDW is really, really good. I need
Mhm.
to read it, but I have not had time.
how could you not have time for Godzilla? But
I know, I know.
moving on. So on top of the Hulk, though, David is also responsible for making Aquaman cool, like we said at the beginning, or at least as cool as he can be, because
Mm-hmm.
it's Aquaman has been kind of like the butt of a lot of jokes for DC
Go talk
for a
to
long
the
time.
fish.
Yeah, what is he going to do in the middle of America with no water? But like the one of the biggest kind of most recognizable versions of Aquaman was his hook-handed Aquaman, which is from Peter David, and the basis and really for like what they did in the DC animated Justice League show.
Yeah, yeah. That was
And
a good episode.
it was a really good episode, and it's crazy that they adapted it that storyline as closely as they did. And I mean, it's a huge moment for
Mm-hmm.
Aquaman. So I mean, it
Mm-hmm.
makes Black Manta just look that much worse.
Yeah. Yeah, I
Um,
need about 50 issues altogether with that, about 50. So it's like,
Mhm.
again, not an insignificant run.
right, and he doesn't do any. He doesn't do these little ones.
Yeah. I was gonna
Well,
say
what?
the other one that I was gonna say the other one I really like is his Captain Marvel run, and this is
Mhm.
Genius Vell, the son of the original Captain Marvel. That's I don't know. Are you a fan of
Marvel.
that run?
Yeah,
Marvel,
yeah.
yeah.
No, I thought it was the cool Marvel. I wasn't too into it because I mean the whole what was his main thing? It was like
The nega
con-
bands. He
yeah, the
smashes.
nigga bands, but it was like the universal consciousness or something like that. He had
Yeah, so
like he knew everything that was going on or something. Like it was kind of
yeah, I think it evolves to that point. Initially, it's Rick Jones and
yeah,
him swapping spots, very Shazam-like, if that
right.
makes any
Which is
sense.
what he did with Marvel too.
Yeah, which is kind of funny. It's Captain Marvel, Shazam. I just fucking realized that right now.
Shazam! Yeah.
Son of a bee.
But
Son
it
of a god.
son of a
Okay, anyway,
yeah.
continue. Sorry.
Yeah, so no, we just had an
Why did I
epiphany on
just figure
podcast.
that out right now?
Goodness, there we go. And also, I mean, Spider-Man 2099, which was about 45 plus 35 when he relaunched the book around 2015.
Yep.
Like I guess he originally left the book after his editor was fired, and he
Yeah, he
quit
left
in
it.
like solidarity. So
Mhm.
he's a ride or die guy.
Yeah,
Um,
and it's ironically enough, 2099 died like 2 issues
yeah,
after that. He's like, "Bye." Like, well, that was the only reason to keep
it's
the book going.
it's really the only like character that really
Yeah.
lasted ever since that. Like I
Mhm.
mean, huge part in the Into the Spider-Verse sequel, Miguel, and
Yeah.
just the design
Again,
was just so cool.
he that's the
And
one
just
of
the
the
look of it.
coolest Spider-Man costumes, I'm telling you,
Yeah.
man. Yeah, it's cool AF. Yeah, I will say, like, we should do an episode on 2099 just because
Oh yeah.
there's some stuff that fell apart there.
I
I will
remember
say that, like, Doom
Solo 29
2099
no
is
Ravage.
what
Ravage
there's Ravage,
2099.
that was one of Stanley's last books that he wrote for Marvel.
Yeah.
He wrote 8 issues. I've heard if you go back and read it, it is kind of politically relevant. It's not good, but I've heard
Hmm,
it's worth a reread. I
hmm.
don't know. I remember I had the 2nd issue for some reason,
I had the
and
random first issue.
oh, yeah, the
Yeah.
green border, yeah. Yeah, he was a guy who got killed by was, like, beaten up, and then he put on a bunch of garbage stuff from a
I'm gonna be
junkyard and
fully honest with you. The only thing I remember from that book was that it was called Ravage 2099, and he had red hair. That's all I remember.
it was the only one that was, like, an original character because the other ones were, like, Punisher,
Yeah.
Spider-Man,
Doom,
Doom, even the
X-Men.
X-Men, although the X-Men was, like, not even related to the X-Men at all, like, they
No,
were
it
like,
was very
"We're going
weird.
out that way," which I thought
Yeah.
was a missed opportunity. It's like, all we want to see is, like, "Where's Wolverine in the future?" But, like, nope, can't touch it. It's a whole
Right.
other, corner of the
And then
universe.
like Spider-Man 2099 was also a basis for the pseudo sequel to the Spider-Man animated series, the 96 one.
Interesting.
They tried to this kind of put it was like a mix of trying to do that comic, but then also trying to make it a sequel to the Spider-Man book. It didn't
Uh,
last long. It was like, yeah, but
mhm.
it was just kind of like a pseudo type of trying to make it work, but it didn't. So, but so Peter David also did not just work for Marvel. Yeah,
Yep.
I mean, we just said Aquaman, but he did Supergirl stuff. Like we mentioned,
85 issues of
85
Supergirl.
issues. So that's so like what 45, and remember that's like one a month. So that's at least a couple years on a book. So
Yeah, he did,
that's
and he even when the book got canceled, I believe the book was canceled, and he still had a bunch of storylines left over. He took those storylines and put that into a new character, Fallen Angel.
oh that had about 60 issues. So it's
That's right.
like he hasn't been doing a lot of these mini issues. Like he comes in, I guess, with at the very least, it seems like going through all these numbers about 40 issues.
Yeah, on the big books, like I said, he did miniseries here and there, and like he did a bunch of symbiote Spider-Man stuff where it's like the hidden story when like the extra
Mm.
tales of Spider-Man wearing the symbiote costume and that between 252 and 259 or whatever it was, and like I said, he's a workhorse. The dude just works. He's a writer of stuff, as he likes so well. He said, as I had mentioned earlier, David was a very outspoken and vocal creator. He was a huge proponent of gay and lesbian issues. He actually won GLAAD awards for his work in the 2nd volume of X Factor. He had no problem speaking his mind and no problem sharing his thoughts. And it was often in a blog column called "But I Digress."
Oh wow, there it is.
There's the Easter egg for.
Now
Yep.
we know the origin of the
That
phrase
literally
for
is it,
Brett.
though. It literally that's the one reason I say that is because I used to read his column. In fact, they collected it into a trade. And it's just called But I Digress. And for the 12 of you listening, now you know the origin of my quote unquote catchphrase.
Oh, wow. So this is a episode 12 was kind of a big one.
Yeah.
It's the a quintessential one. But with all the work he's done, he's actually left more than one book due to editorial interference, and in fact,
Mhm.
that's really the exact reason why he left this X Factor book.
Yeah. It's we'll talk about it in a second, but do you want to
Go
let's
into
start
more
getting into the
details about it.
yeah, and want to get into the context of X Factor?
Yeah, so I mean, let's set the stage.
Yes.
It's early '90s.
Mhm.
Um, I was 4 at the time, so I don't really know what was going on. But X-Men really is the hottest book around. There's um really just they're going through a major overhaul, and all this really stemmed from Todd McFarlane, right?
Yes. So if you don't know, Todd McFarlane, we've talked about him before, one of the best, arguably one of the most recognizable Spider-Man artists. He's like leaving, doesn't want to, he wants to write, he wants to have more control, creative control over the story. So he's like, I'm going to go create a Spider-Man book. Well, when I say they offered him that book, he was like, hey, I want to leave Spider-Man. I want to go write. And they're like, cool. Well, we want to launch a fourth Spider-Man book. So we're just going to call it Spider-Man. He's like, oh, cool. Yeah, I'll draw and write that. That sounds great. Well, due to some shenanigans with the marketing department, they hey, we're gonna release like polybagged versions of that Spider-Man comic only to the direct market. But then they're like, oh, we're gonna release some to Walmart as well. Well, then the direct market, like the actual comic shops, are like, well, we want that issue too. Well, okay, well, we're gonna release polybagged ones to the newsstands, unpolybagged ones here, ones with the gold here, the silver print over. So it ends up being like 5 different issues get released for this book essentially.
That's
And
crazy.
guess it's crazy. And because collectors got to collect, people wanted all 5 different versions of it, and the book ends up selling 2.5 million copies, which is
That's
almost
that's
unheard
cheating.
of.
It's cheating.
It is cheating, yes, but it legitimately sells that many issues. Now, whether all of those got out to market or whatever, that's a whole other discussion, or what the drop off was for 2, that's a whole other discussion itself. But if nothing else, though, they're able to say, "Man, Marvel Comics 1990 sells 2 million issues." And at this point, Marvel's about to go public on the stock exchange. So, like, they're like, "We need to show that we're constantly making money." And so we're breaking profits every year. So enter Rob Liefeld. Now, we have
God.
thoughts about Rob Liefeld, don't we?
Yeah, I mean, it's so funny when I was listening because I don't read actual books, but I was listening to that Marvel behind the scenes book. What was it called? The Marvel
Oh, the Untold Story.
Untold, yeah, and just the stuff they say about Rob Liefeld is amazing. They do
Well, and
not.
that's
Nobody liked him. Just the thing
no.
is, nobody liked him, and
Louise Simonson, who was the writer of New Mutants at the time, has nothing but unchoice comments about him. She's like,
right,
his art's horrible. Like the outside of the building has square windows, but
yeah,
when you go inside, all the windows are circular. It makes no sense.
yeah, and it was just his inability to listen or just to even like he's like, yeah, no, I drew it already. We're fine.
Yeah, yeah,
Yeah,
we're
no
fine.
change.
And
I don't take notes.
he doesn't, and kind of it's true. I mean, to be fair, he wasn't wrong. Kids at that time did not care about the story as much. They cared more about these big splash pages and big guns and take him
Pouches.
or leave him. Rob Liefeld had pouches. Rob Liefeld had a style, and it spoke to certain people. So anyway, and this is also part of that movement at Marvel, where I think at the time it was owned by Revlon, or like the guy who owned Revlon
Yeah,
owned
yeah.
Marvel. And he was like, "Hey, these cats like Todd and Rob and Jim, like we got to promote them as like, we got to make them like rock
The bad
stars." And
boys.
it's yeah, the bad boy.
The
And so
Marvel
like
bad boys.
all of a sudden these guys became the big names, and guess what? They're more important than Louis Simonson or Chris Claremont or whoever's been writing on the actual book. Anyway, Rob Liefeld's like, cool, hey, I want to relaunch, New Mutants. I get rid of Louis Simonson. I want to take over and write these things. And that's when they brought in Fabian to write with him on New Mutants 98, and that's where they created Deadpool and all that. But anyway, so they're like, we're going to cancel the book and we're going to relaunch it as this paramilitary X-Men called X-Force. Great. Well,
Mhm.
how can we merchandise on this? Well, each one is going to be polybagged with a
Yeah,
little
yeah.
and each one will have a different trading card. And if the fans want to get all 5 trading cards, they got to buy all 5 issues. Guess what happens? It
Yeah,
sells in the
just
millions, you know.
they're
So
nerds and they're collecting like
yeah,
tendencies and stuff. It's just we're sheep. That's what it is.
with
We're sheep,
that's
and I
so.
understand it. I don't like it, but
But
I understand it.
I well, at least I will say, so this all leads to, again, like I said, the New York Stock Exchange, they're about to go public. They're like, we're gonna relaunch X-Men as the adjective list. And it's not gonna be the uncanny X-Men or the exceptional. Like, this is gonna be X-Men. And we're gonna have 2 X-Men books. We're gonna have Uncanny X-Men and we're gonna have X-Men. And we're gonna put the team, we're gonna have a blue team and the gold team. The gold team will take place in Uncanny, blue will take place in the adjective list X-Men. And we're gonna launch it, and we're gonna launch X-Men with not just 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 covers. You're literally in like, which I will say, to that end, at least it was better than just a fucking trading card in a poly bag. You
That's
know what I
true.
mean?
That's true. At least it was like different covers.
Yeah, and there were it was like, okay, each cover interlocked with each other. So you had this like huge spread page. So it was 4 covers that was like, it's like Beast and Gambit, and then Wolverine and Cyclops, and like Jubilee and whoever. And then the last one ends on Magneto. And then if you bought the 5th issue, which was twice the price, because those issues were $1.50, the actual big gatefold deluxe issue with the glossy stock, $3.95. Guess what? People bought, and it unfolded, and you got the big cover. So all of this like culminates, with a big relaunch, and they're going to relaunch X Factor as well. Now, for again, you'd brought this up earlier, Josh. What was X Factor before Peter David took over?
The X Factor is basically just the OG X Men after the whole Chris Claremont X Men, where he got rid of it was Cyclops, Jean Grey, Beast,
Mhm, mhm,
Angel, and
mhm,
Iceman. And
mhm.
I mean, even though it was just a team that had still had some significant stuff like happened, like that's where Apocalypse was introduced
Yep.
and everything. But I mean, it was just really just you know an X-Men, the old school X-Men team trying to
Yeah.
be in the 90s, and then they were kind of masquerading
Well,
as like a mutant hunting squad.
yeah. It was in the 80s, but yeah, it was like they were
Oh,
the
sorry, 80s, excuse me.
exterminators. Yeah, that's fine. That's fine. But yeah, they're the exterminators, and they're gonna
All right.
go and hunt down mutants when actually they're like looking for mutants. Like, hey, just kidding. We're not actually trying to hunt you down. Come work with us,
Yeah.
kind of thing.
And then after the post or excuse me, after Fall of Mutants,
Mhm.
and that's when like Angel becomes Archangel, which I love that redesign of Angel. Archangel
Oh,
is one of my
Archangel's
favorites.
great.
Yeah. The team kind of revealed themselves and it becomes more of like a traditional superhero team with, the character drama. This
Yeah.
this new X Factor team.
Mhm.
And really it just everything else just came to an end with X-Men number 1, and the OG
Mhm.
team kind of returned back to the X Mansion. Like you said,
Yep.
Gold and Blue, and then Freedom Force was another thing.
Well,
Um,
yes. So, like,
that's like
if in those books, Freedom Force. Do you remember what Freedom Force? That was the government version of mutants.
right. It was a Brotherhood of Mutants, but just for the government.
Yeah, they're like, hey, we want to get a part in. It's very Suicide Squad, almost in a weird way.
Yeah. I mean, I this left out. It was like, what do you think was going to happen? It was like with Mystique and the
Yeah,
Blob
Mystique,
and
Destiny, Avalanche,
Avalanche. Yeah,
Pyro. There's, I think it was like, I forget who else, like Captain something or other, Commander something or other. Yeah, basically, it was just a bunch of evil mutants that were like, hey, we want a pardon. We'll come work for the
right.
government. And so all of this, all of this comes together, and you get, like I said, the relaunch of all the X titles where Professor X is paralyzed again, the X-Men are whole, like you've got Cyclops back on the team. So it leaves us like this big hole. So what do we do with the X Factor book? And so at this point, Peter Davis offered an X book. A lot of fans have been like, hey, we want you to write an X book. He's like, I've been offered X Factor, and they want me to do the government version of the X-Men. And he's kind of not forced to take certain characters, but he's kind of like, here's the characters you're going to have to have. You're going to have, well, we'll break them all down, but he has all these characters kind of put
Your
onto him.
leader.
a
this or
leader,
this or
this
this.
person.
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. And this again, this is kind of coming out of the fact that Freedom Force was a botch for the government. They're like, hey, we need we got some pie on our
Yeah.
face here. This is these evil mutants turned out didn't work out for us too well. Let's get some actual heroes on this squad. So let's kind of break down the team of how this would work or how this worked.
Yeah. I mean, the first and foremost that we have to talk about is the leader, which is Havoc. And if
Mhm.
it's funny, he's Cyclops' brother, the lesser known brother. If he's not as popular as Cyclops, but and he's always trying to kind of get away from his shadow, but ends up
Yeah,
still being under his shadow. Like
yeah,
he's like, Cyclops is the leader of the X-Men and the top team, and then Alex is X Factor.
little brother. He's a little brother.
He's the little brother, so he's on the little brother team. Um, and his power is very much like Cyclops, and like instead of coming out of his eyes, it really comes out of his really his
Arms.
body, but mostly his arms. And
Yeah,
and it's more of like a heated plasma. It's not like a
yeah.
concussive force. And
Yes.
I love how it's always depicted to as like these circles, like it's almost like
Circles.
the Kirby circles, but like
Yeah.
expanded.
Mhm.
Um, and I mean, he's one of those characters that always has that the little brother complex. I would
Yeah.
think
Yeah,
like
he's constantly
I'm
like
doing good, but not as good
yeah,
as
well, it's like
Scott.
my brother was the quarter was the captain of the football team, but I'm it's like the Eli Manning, Peyton Manning kind of thing,
Yeah,
in a
yeah.
weird way. It's like he's totally competent in his own way, but it's just like he gets caught up too much in the shadow of his brother. I will say though, from a character design standpoint, he is way fucking cooler looking than Scott. You know what I mean? Like whether it's the black costume with the little white
Yeah. Oh
black or
gosh,
the
yeah,
white
yeah.
like yeah,
Little
like
circles, the half circles.
circles or even like I said, the sort of the captain's jacket from the
Yeah.
TOS movies, like his design is cool. And then like you said, I love his actual power. Like it's like, oh, you see those circles like forming up. It's like those look cool as hell.
Yeah, I really liked his design. Remember that it's that book is it Mutant X
Mhm, yeah,
or
oh yeah, you
X
mean next.
X
Yep, yep.
Mutant?
No,
Yeah, where he goes
it
to
was
the
Mutant X. It was the book
yeah.
that when X Factor got canceled, Mutant X was like what filled its slot. And
Right. It was like
for
him in
those
a
of you who don't,
different dimension or something like
yep,
that, a different
yeah,
Earth,
it's an
and
alt.
these
Yeah.
so he's working with this different X-Men team. So I just liked his design in the art on that one.
Well, it was also a fun story just because like the Scott Summers it all is removed from that equation. And so you see Alex like, okay, your brother doesn't exist in this dimension, or at least he's a non-starter in this dimension. Like,
Mhm.
how do you exist? Like you don't have to worry about that shadow anymore. How are you gonna do? You know?
It was one of my I love the Elseworld type of,
Yeah.
different versions of characters, stuff like that.
Yeah,
That's always
it's like
fun.
Beast was mutated into a green, like almost like sea monster.
Yeah.
It was Bloodstorm because it was Storm who had been infected by the vampire, so she
Vampire,
was like
yeah.
yeah, there's
But
oh, that
and she
that
was
book is so
infected
much
by
fun.
Gambit too. Like Gambit was a
Oh, was it?
vampire. Am I thinking that? I could be wrong. Who knows?
It's
More
been
than likely, I'm
25
right.
years since I read that
Yeah.
book. It's great, it's fun, but yeah,
Yeah.
it's definitely like a good what if, like a really long
Yeah.
what if or Age of Apocalypse or whatever you wanna call it.
Very much so. I mean, and then another what if is what if Havoc had a girlfriend? What would her name be?
Oh, I wonder what her name would be.
Yeah. No, so the other character is Polaris, and
Yeah.
whenever I read Polaris, okay, this is going to be more of a nerdy thing, but have you seen Muppet Treasure Island?
No.
Wow. Okay. First of all, we're no longer friends. Second of all,
It's fine, we're buddies, you're comic
Tim,
buddies, so come on.
yeah, wow, wow, I got downgraded to buddy. Uh, Tim Curry plays Long John, and there's a moment in where he's like, "You see that star up there? It's Polaris." And every time I read it, I just read it as Polaris.
Polaris.
But she is the former girlfriend of Havoc, and her name is Lorna Dane. And we didn't know at the time, but you come to find out that she is the daughter of Magneto, and like Magneto, she has the powers of metal and magnetism.
Yep.
But she's kind of become victim to like a lot of like psychic manipulation and coercion, and um she had
Brainwashing.
brainwashing, so she's kind of like she's had a underlying bipolar disorder, and that just kind of exasperated it more.
Yeah.
And she's also like, you kind of during these issues and stuff, you kind of see she has a lot of like body image issues.
Yep. Yes. Yeah, she definitely does, which is crazy because, she's obviously written or drawn very beautifully, but
Mhm.
she's clearly a beautiful woman, and it's just sad that, she still has those, like, issues kinda following her. I will say to your Magneto point, like, it's been heavily implied since her introduction that she's, like, Magneto's
Mhm.
daughter, but it's like, even in her dreams, like, "Oh, yeah, she's Magneto's daughter." Like, even in this issues, they imply that she's Magneto's daughter, but it wasn't until, like, very recently that they're like,
Yeah,
yeah, she's Magneto's daughter.
almost like House
Yeah.
of M.
Yeah, it was something real recently. I really do like, though, like, Peter David's take on her outside of, like, she kinda gets sexualized a little bit here and there, like, by Strong Guy, which
Mhm.
is it's played for laughs, but, I really did like that she feels like a very strong and confident character, that wasn't like
Mhm.
I don't know, I like the Polaris in this book a lot, but that's
A
just me.
Polaris.
Polaris!
Polaris. And
Oh,
other teammates, which everybody knows kind of from like OG time, is Quicksilver. I
yeah,
mean, just
speaking of
again
Magneto's children.
speaking of Magneto's children, he's a former villain, as you know, that's turned into a hero, and he was on the Avengers
Yeah.
during the it's probably the most controversial Avengers team. Would you think?
Definitely,
Would you
at
say?
least at the time, and we talked
Yeah.
about this earlier, when we did the Hawkeye episode, we talked about how
Mhm.
when all the Avengers left the team, that left Cap with having to recruit, and he recruits 3 villains. He recruits Hawkeye, Scarlet Witch, and
Mhm.
Quicksilver, and they become the Avengers for a not insignificant portion of the book.
Right. And even with that, I mean, that's like you said, he was a villain with the Brotherhood of Evil Mutants, and
Yep,
then he became on the team for the X Factor, and he is a speedster.
yep.
He's also he's a brother of Scarlet Witch now, a twin brother, or
Yeah, yeah, twins.
twin twin brother of Scarlet Witch, and he's always like compared to the Flash, but
Yeah, it's a
let's be
bad
honest,
comparison.
he's not really on the Flash's level of speedster. Like
Not even
I think
close.
like the closest maybe for the Flash on in Marvel, I would say probably Makari, or even like from where are those? They did the movie. Why am I blanking on the movie? Eternals. The
It's hard.
Eternals.
Oh,
No, Eternals Makari, the speedster on
yeah,
the
yeah,
Eternals,
yeah,
and
yeah,
then
yeah.
or the Runner, he's like the one of the elders of the
Oh, you
universe.
mean okay, I was thinking the Wizard?
No, 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 no,
Which I
the
hate that
Runner.
name. I'm the
With the
wizard.
worst, yeah, it's the worst name. Like, all right, buddy. Like,
See all that yellow snow? I whiz by.
I'm not gonna kink shame, but come on, dude. um,
There's another couple of villain heroes like that. I'm like, "Oh, man, that name did not age
mm-mm,
well."
no, and
Um,
some of them are in this X Factor book. Was it
yeah.
Bushwhack? Was it? Who's the furry guy? He was like,
Yeah, 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 yeah. Harry Boy,
just
or was it something like that.
Hairy
It was
Man or
like
something. Yeah, something
it
weird.
was something like Harry Boy or
Oh,
something like that.
especially he's on a team called the Nasty Boys.
Yeah,
Um,
Furbag. Was that Furbag?
Furbag, yeah, or something like that.
Yeah, I'm
I
gonna
can't
find
believe
him
I'm
right now.
blanking on his name, but um, look, I mean, look, he's originally had a speed of about 175 miles per hour, but he was later exposed to some
It's
isotope
Hairbag. It's Hairbag.
hairbag. Oh goodness. And he was exposed to some isotope, and now he can hit about Mach 5, which is still like Flash could do in his sleep type of thing.
I love that they tried to do a thing in the DC versus Marvel when they did, like, they
Mhm.
had them fight each other, and they were gonna have Quicksilver race Flash. It was
Right.
like, "Oh, this is so," and they had to, like, double expose him into some other thing, like, "Oh, I'm the fastest I've ever been." I'm like, "Yeah,
Yeah.
it's no contest.
It's
Flash is
it
Flash
reminded
can
me.
vi" Go
Oh,
ahead.
sorry, keep on.
I was gonna say Flash can vibrate so fast he can run through objects, you know what I mean?
Flash can vibrate so fast he can
He can run back in
run
time.
through, yeah, run back in time and run through dimensions.
Yeah.
But it just so when they raced, it reminded me of when they had the Flash Rebirth, and then
Mm,
like Superman is running trying to catch Barry, and he's just like, "Come
yeah.
on, Flash, we both know I'm almost as fast as you because we've raced a few times, and I even beat you a couple of those times. It's like those were for charity, Clark, and just boom, like went right
God,
past him. That's what it
that's
reminded
really
me of. It's like you're not even in my level.
yeah.
I can go backwards. I'm fine. Um,
Uh, yeah,
but
two things. Oh, go ahead.
no, I was gonna get into the whole weirdness of Quicksilver's.
Please.
Like so he's a mutant, and then he was
Not a
son of
mutant.
Magneto, then not a mutant, and then not the son of Magneto, and then
Yeah. It's currently in continuity right now. He and Scarlet
yeah,
Witch are not mutants. They're mutates, I believe, due to the high evolutionary, and they are not the children of Magneto as it currently
which was the
stands.
dumb retcon that they did to try to make it MCU-ish type thing. It was so stupid.
Yeah, and for yeah, for context, like yeah, at the time when those movies came out, Age of Ultron and they introduced Scarlet Witch and Quicksilver, like Marvel did not have the rights to mutants. In fact, that's why I
Right.
think they're called miracles or something like that
Yeah.
in the movie. And also had
Enhanced.
to do with like yeah, enhanced and that also had to do with like at the time Marvel's I don't want to say it was the president, but like Ike Perlmutter, the guy who was running
Ugh.
Marvel, was
Yeah.
like he hated mutants. He wanted mutants gone because they didn't own the rights to the movies. So he wanted like any kind of mention of mutant scrub, but he couldn't do that because they're in the so it was like a whole thing. We're gonna retcon it, and it's just dumb. I'm waiting. They're gonna retcon that back. At a certain point, that will be retconned back to be no, we were wrong. The Peter Parker wasn't Ben Riley. Ben Riley was Peter. It's
It's
whenever they
gonna
make a bad decision like that, they find a way to loop it back.
High Evolutionary is gonna take off like a mask, and it's gonna be
Yeah.
Magneto the whole time.
Yeah, it's gonna be that. And we all know it's a matter of time, but we all have to go through the motions right now that
Right.
no, Scarlet Witch and Quicksilver aren't related to Magneto. He only has one daughter. It's Polaris. We don't know. It's like bullshit. We know what's gonna happen. Just do it, Marvel. Like, come
Yeah.
on. Because the thing is, like Disney, you have the X-Men rights back. You're gonna want to do that eventually. Just do it.
Just pull
Um,
the trigger, and then
just pull the trigger. Yeah.
Quicksilver, even without
It
that
could be a
weird,
throwaway line too. It could just be
yeah,
a throwaway line.
like, "Hey,
They
we're
don't
mutants
make
now."
miniseries.
That's
Yeah,
all they
yeah.
do. "Hey, we're mutants now."
Well, it turns out like, oh, hey, this whole time we got lied to by the high evolutionary, and we actually are Magneto's kids. Yeah,
Yeah,
that's literally all it needs to be. Done.
easy. It could be done in a panel, like you said, or even a page.
Yeah. Yeah.
Uh, it
I will say I love how Peter David writes Quicksilver in this book.
yeah,
Uh,
it's that
I read
whole
it.
arrogance and just, like,
Yeah,
everybody's
he's
so
an
slow
arrogant
around me.
character.
Yeah.
Well, he talked about I read an interview with him, it was like Comic Buyer's Guide or something like that, I forget what it was, and he was talking about it at the time, he was like, he's the most compelling character because it's like, he literally, imagine you are in line behind the slowest person, just, like, slowly counting out the pennies,
Mm,
and you're just like, "Dude, now imagine the whole world is that. That's what
right,
Quicksilver is. Like, everybody is so slow, so he has every right to be just well, he in his mind, he has every right to be angry. It doesn't mean
right.
everybody else sees it the same way, but,
Right, it's also, the son of Magneto at the time. It's just, like, the arrogance, and even without just his, patronage, in question, he's gone through a lot of weird changes too, like, he was,
yep,
married to an Inhuman Crystal,
they had a daughter,
um
Luna.
sorry, an Inhuman named Crystal, not an Inhuman Crystal, but an Inhuman named Crystal. Had a daughter, then, what, was the reason for House of M, the reason for decimation,
Yeah.
lost his powers in the whole, decimation, and then did Terrigen Mist, and then got a version of his power, like, it's more like a
Yeah, it
time,
was like yeah,
it's
it's
like
more time control than him going
it's
fast,
it's kinda like
right?
he went from, like, being more the Flash to be more like Zoom. Uh,
Yeah,
that like, how, like, Zoom is not really a speedster, he's like, he controls the time around him.
yeah.
So he's been through a lot of just weird stuff since then, and
I also love that they never changed his costume. They eventually
yeah,
there's a reason for it, but that he
yeah,
kept his blue with the white lightning bolt costume when everyone else got, like, their X Factor
or their
costumes.
government one.
Yeah, the
I
government
like
ones, I
this, like,
those.
why haven't you changed it? It's like, you never asked me.
Well, that's like well, it's like, I think he's gonna ask for it soon.
Yeah, yeah. So,
That issue is really great.
that was a really good
We'll
one.
get to it in a second.
Yeah, but
Um,
before we get to it, let's talk about Wolfsbane, because she also has is a very interesting character and a very interesting
yeah,
background. I think, it's she was a former New Mutant. so she's the outlier. So she's the new mutant that didn't go into X Force. So
Yes.
so she's already the outside looking in a little bit on this team. And so how do you say her name? I say
Rain. It's Rain. Rain
Rain. Yeah,
Sinclair. I
okay,
always
that's
thought it
what I
was
say.
Rainy, but it's Rain Sinclair.
Yeah, Rain, and she's basically just kind of like a werewolf,
Yeah.
but a controllable
Yes.
werewolf. And I mean, she's pretty awesome. She's born in Scotland, and she's the product of like a really just like a strict religious Catholic like upbringing, and
Yeah.
she's just kind of like at the she's at odds with her being a beast, and then like her being in her being in an interaction with people like magic,
Yeah.
who's
Ileana Rasputin.
Ilyana Rasputin, who's has to do with hell a lot and stuff, and then
She's the
like
leader.
her
She was the leader of Limbo with her
right
soul sword
exactly,
and
and then
demons.
and her dad was not a great guy too, so it's just
It was not a good
bigoted and
dude. Yeah. It was a preacher, I believe.
right.
Yeah.
And he was part of the Purifiers too at some point, so
I
it's
think
just kind
so.
of
Yeah.
like and I think like following the events of like Extinction Agenda, which was about like what a year later.
Yeah. Well,
Um,
this usually it takes 1 year earlier
yeah,
before the X Factor.
earlier, excuse me,
Yeah.
later, excuse me, earlier. She was brainwashed and kind of forced into slavery in Genosha. And
South Africa.
but eventually she was kind of freed from it, and then that's kind of where her obsession with Alex kind of came from too.
Yeah, because she had been for those who don't know, like Genosha, like was basically was brainwashing and turning mutants into mutates and
Mm.
making them slaves essentially and like, oh no, it's all good, don't worry about it. No, it's pretty bad. But there was like a master slave relationship between her and Alex in that book that unfortunately carries over into this book. She becomes obsessed with him. And the other thing that's unfortunate for her character is that she can't turn fully human because then that mutate brainwashing will take over, so she has to stay basically in animal form for the majority of the book, either as a full like wolf or at least like a wolf hybrid,
Yeah,
you know. And she gets pretty close to being human, but it's unfortunately
still not the whole
uh
way.
yeah, it's still not the whole way.
So the next character on the team is Guido
Carosella, let me see.
Carosella.
Yep.
He was introduced really in New Mutants as a former bodyguard to Lila Cheney, who was a
Yep.
like a pop
Rock
star or a
star,
rock
the
star,
mutant
excuse me,
rock
yeah,
star, not
yeah,
Dazzler,
and
she's rock star.
rock star. And this is like his design is very weird because he's very like top heavy. He's like
Yes. He's
what is the best? He you know what he is? He's like unironically the that image of Captain America that Rob Liefeld
Yes.
drew.
The infamous.
Yeah, the huge yeah. But
He's all upper body. He's like, he does
all
not work
upper
on he no leg day.
no leg day, no leg day. Now his code name is Strong Guy, which was kind of it wasn't something he even chose. I think it was just like yelled at him, and he's just like, all right, whatever. Right? It was like when
Yeah,
they're introducing the team.
he's
Like
because they're like, you have to have a name. He's like, well, every time he needs a strong guy, he's like, yeah, strong
Strong Guy.
guy.
Yeah, right.
That's my name. They're like, are you? They're like, are you for real? No, that's stupid.
Yeah,
No,
yeah.
I gotta
So
keep
we're
it.
gonna keep it, yeah, and then they joke about it throughout the book too. Just like that's the name, and you worried about Strong Guy.
Yeah.
Um, yeah,
I was
his
like, I can't believe
power. Oh, sorry.
I was gonna say, I can't believe I'm saying this name out loud.
Right. God. And hey, it stuck for
They
years and
did.
years and
Yeah.
years. They didn't
Well,
change his name.
well, literally, and we'll talk about it in a second, but literally the reason came up because Peter David could not come up with a name for it. It was just like,
I know
he's strong
what
guy.
do you call him? Like the top, because it kind of looks
Yeah.
like the top. But I mean, his power really is like he has the ability to absorb kinetic energy, and that enhances his physical strength. Now, what's bad about it though is if he doesn't release it, like within 90 seconds,
90
it like
seconds, yeah.
permanently disfigures his body. Like that's why he has that
Hence.
huge upper body because he didn't know
Yeah,
what to do with it when it happened
he
to
got
him.
hit by a bus.
Right. We
He
got
got hit by a bus.
well. At first, he was getting beat
I
up
was like,
by
he
bullies,
was getting
and
by
that's
the
kind of
kids, then and then he gets hit by the bus, and
Yeah.
he looks like the Hulk's arm.
Right. It was a weird depiction of it. Like it was, what was did it look like? It kind of
Isn't it
looked, I don't know, like Groot. It looked very like Baney, very
gruesome?
Banish.
Yeah,
Like
it is. That's a good way to look at it. It's like he looks like Bane roided up, but on
yeah.
this poor little kid's body. At least initially when they did that. Um,
And I mean, actually he's the jokester. He's one of the jokesters of the team.
yeah,
But
one of the many.
yeah, exactly. Yeah, I mean, he's a smart character, even though he looks like a meathead and he's kind of
Yeah,
bodyguard and stuff. Um, but also he has a bad heart because of the
yeah,
size. Like
yeah.
when he runs into problems with having a heart attack because of absorbing too much stuff.
Yeah, not once or twice, and that was the other thing. Like, I think there's like an issue where he has a heart attack, and they're trying to do CPR, and they can't do it because every
Mhm.
time they hit him to
It
get
would make it
to
worse. Yeah.
it makes it worse. And so, like, yeah, like he's always had that kind of problem. I think they since like I want to say it's either the X Factor run or House of what is it, the Krakoa stuff. Like
Mm.
they've decreased that, but I don't know. Well, it's been a minute since I read all that stuff.
And we just said the strong guy name has kind of kept with him the whole time. It's also kept with him that
But
stupid haircut. That is
I
the
love that
worst
haircut.
haircut. I hate that
Yeah.
haircut.
For those of you who don't know, he has a shaved head except for like a little twill of white hair at the front that just comes
That
down.
thing though, it's not a little twirl. It goes like super long too, but
Yeah.
it
Well, it
kind of
depends on
depends
the
on
artist.
the artist, but it definitely takes some leeway in the length of that twirl. It's like, dude, just why?
He
Just
also
take
wears those bottle cap glasses too.
right, and it's
He's
like,
got a look.
that's
That's the one thing I will
yeah, it's like
say.
just
It's
because
like
he has a look doesn't mean it's a good look.
I didn't say it was necessarily good. I'm just saying at least it's a distinct look. You can look at a lineup and you immediately know who Strong Guy is compared to any other
as
generic
as if
strong muscle
the
man.
super top heavy like the way his body is wasn't the
No, I
what
know,
did it
but I'm just
say?
saying, like,
Yeah,
well,
yeah.
because you're like, is that Prime? Is that just a very bad version of Captain America? Who is that guy?
And then it's a stupid haircut.
Is
No, I'm
Rob
sorry.
Liefeld drawing Superman now?
Yeah, exactly. Gone. Yeah, that's exactly. It's the Superman curl without the rest of the hair.
Yeah, but it's all white.
Yeah, it's
I
yeah, yeah.
I I genuinely love Strong Guy. He's one of those characters. Yeah, maybe it was just because like I happened to get like his first because I think his first appearance is like in New Mutants. I think it's like New Mutants 31,
Hmm.
and I happened to be one of the first times I got a first appearance of somebody. So I've
Oh
always had
wow,
like
yeah, a
an
little soft spot.
appreciation. Yeah. It literally was. I was like, I remember like Wizard magazine. They have like, oh, first appearance of this. I'm like, I have that. I have his first appearance. And so he became one of my favorite characters because of that.
He is more
Not
layered
worth
than
anything, by the
you
way.
may think. Huh?
It's not worth anything.
No, yeah, well, yeah. I mean, it's a strong guy. Let's be real.
How
He's
dare you?
he's also very layered. Like in that issue with Samson, you kind of get more of just how he is, and like yeah, like what you said, he's in constant pain
Yeah.
too. That's his whole thing, which is
Yeah.
interesting.
Well, that leaves us with the final member of the team, my boy, Jamie Madrox, the multiple man.
My boy,
Uh, he
my
is,
boy,
you know,
my boy.
and this, so there is a moment in it's issue 73 where Madrox, the multiple man, is fighting another version of multiple man, and someone has on the radio the Weird Al parody within the X-Men universe, a Particle Man set to Multiple Man. So I'm gonna read that. Just bear in mind, this
We
is a
do.
they might be giant song done by it's called Particle Man from it was from the 90's, but they redid it as Multiple Man. Multiple man, doing the things a multiple can. What's he like? It's not important. Multiple man. Is he a lot or is he alone? A super clown or a super clone? His own beginning and his own end, his own best friend, multiple man.
Oh boy.
But that's multiple man. Like
Yeah.
he nails the character. Peter David nails the character in a fucking Weird Al parody song within their universe. You know what I mean? Like
Yeah.
it's just he is like literally his own best friend, and he is a clown, and
Yeah.
he's all it's the brevity of which, like, you get, like, a character description and put into the context of a dude on in a car listening to him on the radio to get that information across. I love that about Peter David's work. You know what I mean? Like, what a great way to, like, here if you haven't and I had never read an issue. I had never
Yeah.
read an issue of X Factor. I knew who this guy was. I'm like, "Oh, this guy can create clones of himself. That's cool." You
Yeah.
know? And if you don't, like, and literally his
Yeah.
power is if you hit him, any kinetic energy, if he, like, he slaps his hands, he snaps his foot, whatever, he creates a duplicate or a dupe of himself, and is honestly one of the best mutant abilities ever. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I mean, it's funny too, is that he's the other character that has a kinetic based power, like Strong
Power.
Guy and him, and the 2 funny
Yeah.
guys are the
Yeah, and
kinetic
they're the 2
guys.
funny guys. Well, I love, like, it's the moments in the book with him, it's like, "How did wait, your door is locked?" He's like, "Yeah, I don't carry my keys," and he just slides his fingers under the door, slams the ground, and a duplicate pops up on the other side
Yeah.
to unlock the door, you know what I mean? Like, it's used so well. I like there's, like, even, there's, like, one point where they have to capture him, and they have to, like, compress him down because, like, they and, like, of course, Guido's in the back, he's like, "Oh, be careful he doesn't blink too hard," you know?
Oh, yeah, yeah. Yeah, and then, when they have the lady who's, like, does hypnotism with the music and stuff, he just has a
Oh,
bunch
yeah,
of dupes,
Rhapsody.
and they just, cover their ears and snap him out of it, and
It's
it's pretty
he's so
he's great, and then he's also used very well in other books, and,
other
like, I
books.
remember a big thing was, in, um, Age of Apocalypse, where all of Apocalypse, like, his, like, priest high priest or his magi and stuff, like, his
Yeah,
henchmen, like, higher henchmen were dupes of multiple men,
yeah,
and you kinda see there's so many of them that you kinda see him in the original is like in a his own little room, and he's
mhm,
kind of like a uh he has no thought process because he's been
yeah.
duped so many
So many
times.
times, yeah, he's just spread out over all of them. Yeah, it's clear that, Peter David, I think, was channeling a lot of himself into Multiple Man because, obviously when the book ends, like, with Peter David, because the book keeps going after Peter David leaves, the book kept going obviously for years. They actually kill off Multiple Man eventually in issue, like, 100. It's very sad. It was, like, kinda like, "Oh, man, what are you doing here?" Obviously, they bring him back, but when Peter, like, David came back to the book, he, first did it with a 5-issue miniseries called Madrix, and it's about Multiple Man basically opening up a detective agency called Triple X Detective Agencies, and,
Oh,
like, of
right, right,
course,
yeah.
they're like, "You may wanna change the name, pal. Maybe Triple X Investigations isn't what you want it to be about." But he becomes basically the focus of X Factor after that. Even after
Mhm.
that miniseries, it goes on to create Jamie is the glue that binds all of these characters together, and you get characters. Well, we can discuss that later, but it's clear, like, even when Peter David, you see him wearing the Multiple Man shirt, because Multiple Man has a specific symbol, which is like it looks like a bunch of circles that are connected by lines, and so it's clear that David really had an affection for this character, and it shows in the writings. Like, he is hilarious all through the book.
Yeah. It's him and Guido making the jokes because you're not gonna get anything from Alex. You're not gonna
No,
get anything from Quicksilver.
nope.
Maybe so, like, Polaris is funny. She's, like,
Parsons is
witty
funny.
and stuff, and then and Rain is just
Oh, she stiff
she
as a
can be
board.
funny. She's just more innocent. Like, her
Yeah.
naivete is what's funny about her.
Well, as I say, Quicksilver's great as the straight man. That's what I will
Yeah.
say. I absolutely love. Like, there's a great issue in the annual. He's trying to reconcile with his wife Crystal, and it's shortly after the gang has met with Doc Samson. If you don't know who Doc Samson
Mhm.
is, he's the green haired psychologist of the Marvel universe. Who essentially he's got gamma radiation, very much involved with the Hulk stuff, but he's like a psychologist.
Well, then we talked about him during the Red Hulk issue.
That's right, that's right, that's right. So this is he's a lot more of a fun character
Right.
in this book as opposed to that book. But, I love that he's, like, sitting there talking to Crystal, and she's like, "Wow, you seem so much different." He's like, "Well, Crystal, I gotta be honest with you, I've been seeing someone." And she's like, "Oh, is it the green-haired one?" And, and Lorna Dane, AKA Polaris, has
Yeah.
green hair, and he's like, "Yes, it is." It is, and, a lot of stuff has come up, but, he's making me see things that I've never seen before. She's like, "Oh." it's a he, you know,
Yeah.
the whole time.
He's
And
just,
it's just,
like, oblivious to what he's yeah.
yeah, she doesn't realize he's talking about being a psychologist, seeing the green-haired psychologist. She thinks he's talking about, like, seeing a guy. She's like, he's like, "I guess you have to be understanding about this." She's like, "I guess I don't have any other choice. I guess I gotta be understanding about this." And she's like, "Wait, you're seeing a psychologist?" Like, "Yeah, what did you think I was talking about?" "Nothing."
Nothing. No, nothing.
It's just great. He does really Peter David does really well with that, you know what I mean? Um, but let's get into some of the issues. I don't think we need to break them down exactly. I think we can just
No,
kind of
yeah,
lightly
we just cut because we covered. I mean, when we're talking about the characters of X Factor, that's kind of really covering the Peter Davidness of the book.
of it all. Yeah.
Yeah, and like the
Also, we can just talk about, like, our favorite moments for the issues and, like, just go
yeah,
read
it's
the
very true.
issues.
Yeah, we
Have
could. Yeah, totally, totally. I mean, the and I'm stuttering for whatever reason. I mean, but yeah, talking about through it, I think what I really liked about this, like, this first line this first
yeah, the
storyline,
first, like, 20 issues or so. Oh, the first
yeah,
storyline,
yeah,
yeah.
I just love the Nasty Boys, like,
The
it's
Nasty
just
Boys.
so, like, a weird name, like,
What
it
was it? It
was
was hairbag, slab,
Hairbags,
ramrod.
yeah, Ramrod, and then this other guy who, like, amplified sound,
Yeah,
and of course, it's all it basically, they were like Morlocks, basically, but working for
yeah,
Sinister. I think they even show up in, the, show as well.
yeah.
But a lot of the Peter David stuff, ends up in, like, the X-Men cartoon. So if you've seen the cartoon, you've seen some of the stuff.
I genuinely love the first arc because again, it's really funny. Like, there's so many gags that happen in like okay. So for just quick context, issue 70 is written by Peter David, and it's about the dissolution of the falling apart of all the X-Men team that leads into 71, which is X Factor. And it's this character, Val Cooper, who's the government liaison. Hey, I'm bringing X Factor together as a team and trying to draw all these cats together. And there's so many gags that happen within the book that are fun. Like there's a gag where Multiple Man is trying to open a jar of mayo throughout the issue. And
Everybody is, yeah.
yeah, well, he has it first, like, "Just give me," and, like, Guido, who's the resident strong guy, he's like, "I can't get it to open, what the hell?" And then, like, Polaris, like, you know, she uses her magnetic powers and it won't open, like, the jar won't it's like, "What the hell's with this mayo made out of?" And eventually it just ends with Val Cooper, the human, he's like, "What are you doing?" Like, just grabs the thing, bonks it, and it's like, "There, see, it
Yeah.
opens." I think Havoc throws it in the air, tries to plasma
Right.
blast it,
And
and then you
then
find out, go ahead.
no, I was gonna ask you, what was it? It was because Multiple Man did the whole, like, super glue or
Yeah,
something?
it was a gag jar that he had created that no one could open unless he let it
Right.
get opened. And
Right.
then of course he gets shot and killed, but that's
That's yeah, that's a whole part of this first storyline is just like, a lot of the mutants, are excuse me, a lot of mutants on the team are having problems with their powers. Like Quicksilver's having
yeah,
problems with his speed,
speed.
like his he's aging as quickly as
Yeah.
he's perceiving the world. And then um there's multiple, I guess, um not OG dupes, but like there's two multiple men who think they're the one, like the
Well,
original dupe.
there's multiple men and a dupe, and one of them is real and one of them is the dupe, and we
Yeah.
don't know which one. And that leads to a epic fight of multiple men
Because they
everywhere.
keep
Because as soon as they punch each other,
yeah, a dupe is made,
they
yeah.
split.
And then, like, thank God they had, like, one was wearing his costume and one wasn't, because then that would've
Yeah.
been just, like, too crazy. But
I
you
I legit Go ahead, go ahead.
no, no, I was just gonna keep what were you saying?
I was gonna say, I love that fight too, because like they like fight through the Smithsonian and like the back and forth between the two of them is great because they're both like, I know I'm the real one. And like, you know, like at one point, like he grabs like the Enterprise and
Yeah,
he's like,
yeah, yeah.
space, the final frontier, like the space between your ears. Like it's so stupid,
So
but
so bad, but so
it's so,
good. It's just it was a crazy fight with some crazy dialogue in between. It's just yeah, it's
I
like
love like
I would
you
love
know,
to see
Guido's
that
walking
on
around.
screen.
Oh yeah. Well, when Strong Guy's just knocking him out by flicking, he was like one little, two little, three
Right,
little
right, right.
JVs, four little,
Right.
five little, six little JVs.
This is so stupid, but
Stupid but
amazing.
fun.
And
And
when you
like I
find
said, go
sorry.
ahead. You know what, I was just saying that when I said it, like, it leads up to that point where they finally capture them and put them in these compression chairs.
Right, and
He's
they
like,
can't move, yeah.
yeah, he's like, they're like, it's like, yeah, man, you better not blink too hard. You never know, you know.
Yeah. Well, yeah, that's the thing too. Like any little kinetic energy makes a dupe. Um, with
Which I do like. There's a gag where the two of them are snoring. Him and the duplicate are snoring, and they're like, "Turn over, you're snoring." They say it to each
oh
other at
yeah,
the
yeah.
same time. Turn over, you're snoring, and they both turn at the same time.
There's so many moments with, and that's like what the first like 2 3 issues too of this whole
Yeah,
arc.
it's up to the issue. It's like the first four,
Yeah,
71 through 75 is about them just coming together as a team. Like I said, they get their names, they get
yeah.
like they present themselves. You have that great fight with Strong Guy and Slab, where he
A
literally
slab, yeah.
destroys the Washington Monument. And all
You learn what strong guy's power is really. It's just the whole kinetic part.
yeah. It's just a fun introduction to the team, and like I said, it legitimately laugh out loud moments, so it's just like stupid gags here and there, left and right, and just he's got a good ear for dialogue. Each character feels distinct and developed, and yes, they've all been around for, dozens of years, or not dozens of years, but like, for many years, but like they all feel like fully realized characters, and you
I think
get that right off the bat.
I think that's the thing too. Like even though they've been within the zeitgeist of X-Men for years, you don't really
Mm.
know these characters. Other
Yeah.
maybe at the time, like Rain and Quicksilver are the most like recognizable
Yes,
because
I'd
they're New
say so.
Mutants and everything. But this X Factor book really brought them into the forefront, which was really good. And you have that mix of like people you already knew, like Quicksilver and Rain,
Mhm.
and even Mister Sinister. I think Mister
Or even
Sinister is
Havoc
used as a
too, to a
good
lesser extent.
lesser
Yeah.
extent. I mean, just saying like just for like
Yeah.
more of the forefront, like easily
Yeah.
recognizable characters at the
Yeah.
time. Like bringing in Mister Sinister as like the first bad guy was
Yeah.
a great usage of that because not only of how big that character is and how recognizable he is, but also just his
Mhm.
connection in a way to Apocalypse, which is in a way, started from
Mhm.
X Factor. So there's
Yeah,
kind
sorry
of
for
like
accident.
little red yarn moments
Yeah.
with that in the characters. And you find out Mr. Sinister is like what the leader of the Nasty Boys, and he's working with the senator that can disrupt
Ricochet people's powers or something like that, or
ricochet people. And so he just that's what he was doing to Jamie and to Quicksilver.
what's that?
And
Quicksilver, yeah.
it was kind of like that, not Manchurian candidate, but just kind of like he's trying to become the president to
Yeah, the whole
F
plot
shit
is,
up.
yeah, he just wants to use the mutant issue to become a president, even though he's a mutant himself.
Right, right. And then I think after that one, I mean, just there's moments with the Hulk and stuff. Like they fight the Hulk in the Pantheon and like this
Yeah,
weird
it's
foreign
immediately just
land and stuff.
yeah, it's essentially like an not evil Iraq. It's like in Iraq or some kind of
Mhm.
Persian Gulf state. And yeah, they're like, the government, the CIA is bringing in the X Factor to help this government transition to a democratically elected government, but not really. The guy's a piece of shit.
Right.
And it leads to X Factor fighting the Hulk. It's fine. The biggest thing that I thought was interesting out of that is that, you see Rain Sinclair get kind of pushed over the edge
Hmm.
and essentially kill somebody. They don't show it; it's off panel, but yeah,
Right.
she essentially kills somebody because of how pissed off she is, and that I think is like
Which
the
is
biggest
a
thing that kind of
huge thing for her character because
yeah,
like a of how young she is, but also her
yeah,
upbringing and just her being
yeah,
in the X Men.
yeah,
Um, and then what they go back to Mister Sinister and the Nasty Boys.
yeah.
Um,
The Hell's Bells
yeah, the
too.
Hell's Bells, yeah, and then I like this next story with the multiple man or with Jamie and Quicksilver investigating a murder mystery. It's like a murder mystery
Which is
in some
great
town.
because it's such a like a precursor to like what would eventually happen with Madrix opening up a murder
Yeah, yeah,
or
yeah.
a detective agency because yeah, you just said there's like a murder, like someone got killed. Was it by a mutant? She says
Right.
she didn't hurt him, and then like it kind of goes from there.
What was funny too, like right now I'm listening to the old BBC radio dramas of Sherlock Holmes.
Mm.
And it's on Audible and all of them. It's pretty awesome because they dramatize the novels and all the short stories and stuff.
Oh,
And like
nice.
people like Judy Dench makes an appearance as like um it is Mrs. Oh, their maid or their housekeeper, and
Yeah,
then
I forgot what her name is. I
yeah,
forget.
I
I
can't
know
believe
it's
like
221 Baker Street.
yeah, two
It's
to
like,
one B
oh,
Baker,
it's
and then like Ian Glenn is in there too. It's so, but
so nice.
it's funny because then I read this and it's like, oh, this is almost like a Sherlock Holmes mystery, even just how it's introduced and everything, and it's very Holmesian. Holmesian. So it's like
Yeah.
Jamie and Quicksilver, like the Watson and Sherlock of this whole thing.
Yeah. I like also that they kind of like you expand on Jamie's character a little bit more by realizing like he's really into music and all of that as
Mhm.
well. I thought it was really nice to like flesh that out a little bit more. It's
And just
good,
how
and it's
political savvy that Quicksilver is, because he's been with under the tutelage of Magneto. Is like, you have to be a united front. Like
yes.
we can't be fighting in front of the normies.
Yes, that's right, because he's like, "Wow, you actually agree with me?" He's like, "No, but we can't, like,
Yeah.
present without." Yeah, I thought that was a good move on Quicksilver's part. Again, all really smartly or well written, but also the characters act smart, you know what I mean?
Mhm.
These are not dummies, you know? They may make foolish decisions because it's funny, but overall, they're not dummies, you know what I mean? That of course leads into sort of like a pickup from some of the Genosha stuff with the MLF, the Mutant Liberation Front, and
Right.
some Genoshan stuff, and it's fine. They kind of like are helping these mutants come back to Genosha, and hey, no, we've turned things around. But have they? Who knows?
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah. Yeah.
But that leads into the
The crossover
big crossover of the '90s, Executioner song. Did you? Okay, I have a question for you. So first off, number one, did you reread all of Executioner's Song, or did you just read the three Peter David issues that he scripted
for
in
this
that
episode.
series for this episode?
Just the three issues, because it's still
Oh,
I know. Well, just it's still very like
fresh.
fresh in my head. Like, I knew
Okay.
exactly where it was at. I knew in my head this whole time I was reading the X Factor. I had the panel of Rain like doing that initial
Yeah.
like uppercut thing to Farrell
Yeah.
in my
Okay.
head this whole time. I was
Yeah.
like, I
Yeah.
was wondering when we're gonna get to that, and it's been fresh in
So
my mind and stuff.
okay, I did go back and read all of
Mm.
Executioner's Song as a whole series. What was it? Were you able to read the X Factor issues without all the content? Obviously, you know the story, but were you able
Yeah,
to read them without the context, or do you think it's like, no, if you're going to go through and read this, you need to read
I
Executioner's
think
Song
you
along
need to
with it?
read the Executioner song, because it goes right into it's like right in the middle of the
Sure.
beginning.
Well, and that's the thing is like it's like literally chapter 3, chapter
Yeah.
7, and chapter 9 or something, or
Right.
whatever, chapter 11. Um, yeah, I agree with you too on that. Like you do really need to read that crossover. What's interesting to me is if you go back and read like the first issue of the X Factor, is like there's still a lot of X Factor in it,
Mhm.
but by the second and third issue, X Factor almost doesn't even appear in those X
No.
Factor
Yeah.
issues. The only thing that's in it, like, of any real note is, like, Havoc for the most part. You do get a
Right.
funny joke from Strong Guy at one point. I will say, though, during this arc, Havoc is the strongest we've ever seen him. Like, and I don't mean,
Mhm.
like, power level, I just mean, like, he is a firm, confident leader in this. His brother is missing. Okay, actually, we should probably rewind a second here and explain what Executioner Song is.
Yeah. We've been throwing this
Woo!
Executioner song stuff. So
No context right now!
right.
No, yes.
We're giving you as much context as they give you in the the
Yeah,
issue.
exactly, in these shoes. So, yeah, just so you know, in this book, we do not know who Cable and Strife, like, their history, if, Cable is obviously the child of Cyclops and Madeline Pryor, the clone of Jean Grey. Jesus Christ, I just said that.
I just had a headache. Sorry.
Yeah, well, it gets worse. Strife is the
Yeah.
clone of Cable, who is the son of Cyclops and the clone of Jean Grey. Criminy Christmas. Anyway, so in this book, Cable, quote unquote, shoots Professor X in the head with a techno-organic virus, puts him into a coma, and he's going to die. All of the X teams have to come together to find Cable, only to realize later on that it was Strife behind it all. And they've got to team up with Apocalypse to bring down the MLF and Strife, who's the Mutant Liberation Front leader, to find a way to cure Xavier and save the day and all
From
that.
and that introduced the legacy virus, which is a
Legacy virus, yeah,
big
it's
kind of
basically the AIDS. It's the
yeah,
AIDS
basically, yeah.
epidemic. It's for the mutants.
And then Strife,
Uh,
just even more context. Strife is, like we said, the clone of Cable, but it's Cable without the techno organic virus. So his
yes.
his psychic ability is off the charts.
But all the daddy issues.
but all the daddy issues. And
Yeah,
I
he
mean,
has all the I don't know how Cable came out clean as he did because well, I guess it makes sense if you get to the
yeah,
further adventures of the adventures of Cyclops and Phoenix. That's a whole other miniseries in itself. Anyway, so that's what's going on. So in these 3 issues, Peter, and this is really kind of what leads to the end of the book for Peter David, is like he gets shoehorned into writing these X-Men crossover issues that don't even have his team. He had to put all his plot lights on hold,
right.
and you see every a little, hey, the expatriates from that last issue with Genosha, they disappeared. You know, like a throwaway line to that, and that's kind of it. The rest of it is just like all balls to the wall action, which I will say again, those Jay Lee issues
Those Jay
drawn
Lees are
by him
amazing. Well,
are amazing.
Executioner Song as just an artist. It's like an artist showcase. It's the Kubert, Andy or Adam, one of the Kubert
It's
brothers.
Andy. It's Andy.
Andy,
It's Andy Kubert.
and it is Jim Lee and Jay Lee. So
No,
I
Jim
mean,
Lee wasn't on
oh
it.
sorry,
Jay
excuse
Lee.
me. It was
Yeah.
Jay Lee, and then was another.
Greg Capullo, I think. Greg Capullo.
Yeah,
I wanted and Dan
was it
Panasian, I think is what it was. I forget who it
Ramita?
was,
Was
but
Ramita one of them too? No,
no,
am I
I don't
thinking
think
someone
Ramita
else?
was on that
No.
one. No. Yeah, I don't think so. Not yet,
But
at
anyway,
least.
it's very much a showcase of like the baby artists before they became like very big. But Jay
Well,
Lee was amazing in it.
well, a lot of it was because this is coming hot off the heels of the Image defection, where Jim Lee, Rob Liefeld, Todd McFarlane, all those cats left Marvel to go film Image Comics. And in an effort to keep right or the readers on board, they tried to get artists that could kind of mimic their style enough that there was not that much of a drop off, basically.
Mhm.
It's interesting. I was reading an article about it, how like at the time Jim and all those guys were like, no, we're going to draw this crossover for you. We're going to do double duty. We're going to do the X-Men book and we're going to do our Image book. And they couldn't even do they weren't even meeting their deadlines on their own, like,
Mhm.
let alone do. And so, a lot of people suspected they were doing that to fuck over Marvel as much as they could before they left, but that's a whole other discussion.
Yeah,
But
that's a whole other episode. But yeah, it was Brandon Peterson, Andy Kubert,
Fred
Jay Lee,
Pearson.
and Greg Capullo. Yeah.
Yeah, that's it. Sorry. Yeah, anyway, so the issue ends and, it's a great. I will say I do like the Peter David ones. Like there's that great one where it's Archangel and he's standing there and a character's flying in to get him and he just lops his head off on accident with his
Yeah.
like his wings. Like it just clears, like just takes
Right.
the head off. Like, like so it's like, well, with a name like Kamikaze, you gotta expect that to happen.
God.
Jesus. I
Good
was like,
lord.
right.
And within kind of didn't talk about it, but within the that mystery plot with multiple
Arc.
men and
Yeah.
Quicksilver, there was something going on with like cyber, or we see that Polaris gets like
Strife and Cyber both show up in those arcs as well. Like they managed to like
yeah
steal Strife's glove, and then Cyber is reading the Hell's Bells against Strong Guy or something like that, right?
and then he like beats up Polaris because they were
Yeah.
trying to not they were trying to stop them from protecting Shrew or something, one of the mutants that
Yeah,
was gonna it was like going to testify against them or
that's right. She
something
has
like
to
that.
get her jaw, not stapled shut, but
Yeah,
um,
wired shut. So
wire shut. Thank you.
which goes into her like a lot of her moments in this next issue or arc, with the Doc Samson, because that kind of leads into that issue where they are after this big traumatic experience.
They have to have decompress.
they have to decompress. They have to go to a therapist, and at the time, throughout the issue,
It's
you
like an
don't really see
officer
who it
involved
is.
shooting kind of thing.
Yeah.
This is arguably the best issue of X Factor in
Mhm.
this run. It's not only funny, it's heartfelt, but yeah, like to your point, they all meet with Doc Samson, who you don't even know it's him. You just know they're
Right.
talking to somebody, and
At the subtle
it's
green
not tent.
speech
Yeah,
speech bubble, so too.
that's what it was. Yeah, I love that each character like breaks down who they are. This is where you find out Quicksilver is like, dude, I'm stuck behind everybody who is slow. This is why I'm the way
Right.
I am. You deal with like Polaris like talking about her body issues and her body, like look at my body and just like you're like
Like, I lost weight. Hey, since the last time I talked to you, I lost 15 pounds. Like, all right. He's like, you never said anything. Like,
I it's like I wasn't bringing it up.
right.
You talk about Havoc, his own insecurities with his brother. Multiple Man is actually he is for a person who can create multiple copies of myself. I'm like the loneliest person on the planet because everyone just assumes,
Mhm.
I'm my own best friend. Guido talks about he's like, yeah, I'm the reason I make these jokes is because I'm constantly in pain. I constantly hurt, and I don't want people to pity me.
Right.
I actually think of these people as my friends, and I don't want them to think, oh, he's in pain and they feel bad for me. I want to be their friend. And so every character, gives their own like deconstruction of themselves. It's just a great issue,
Yeah,
you know?
and it's the bottle episode. It's the
Yeah.
it's great. Definitely,
Yep.
if you're gonna read anything from the X Factor stuff, I think I would read that issue. I would just kinda give that
Well,
issue
I
a first.
well, I was gonna say, because 2 things. Number 1, I love the ending to where Val, their boss, is like she completely has misread her. She's like, "Oh, yeah, Havoc, he's a natural born leader. He's completely out of Cyclops' shadow. Oh, Strong Guy, he's just a party guy. He doesn't care about anything. Quicksilver, he's arrogant and there's no reason for it." You know what I mean? Like, she's
Right.
like, it's completely wrong. And like Doc Samson's like, "Well."
And then, like, she's like, "What do you think?" He's like, "Well, they're normal?" Like, that's what his thing is? They're normal like, yeah, these
Yeah.
are normal people. Like,
Yeah.
they're
Because
not
they're
infallible. They're not, they have their
yeah,
flaws and everything. Um,
yeah. It's just a great issue. It ends with basically Val getting taken over and replaced with a duplicate, though, and that is a plot thread that unfortunately doesn't get dropped at all,
right.
but it doesn't get resolved over Peter David's tenure because he comes back. So basically, this is issue 87. He comes in, he introduces a bounty hunter for issue 88 named Random,
Mhm.
which I actually like the resolution of this. Like, he has to collect the expatriates that escaped. And how does he get them? By like literally Havoc's like, how are we going to stop you? Oh, you take cash? Here's a check. You
Yeah,
know what I mean?
yeah,
Like, he's like, you stopped him with cash? He's like, why not? We have a
right.
government paycheck. Why do we need to fight? Such a great like way to resolve that. I thought was like a lot of fun. But then he does issue 89, and then Peter David's like, fuck this, I'm out. I'm done. And the reason being, like, literally in the middle of a story arc, Peter David like left. It's because like he was told after Executioner Song, you're not gonna have to do any more crossovers because it disrupts your storylines. But like, you know, you're not gonna do any more. Well, guess what's right around the corner is the big Fatal Attraction storyline that's
Mhm.
around the corner. He's like, I'm out. I'm out. I'm just done with this. And so he just pieces out. He's like, you guys promised me, but I could tell it wasn't going to happen. And sure as shit, man, that's the first issue off the gate for Reveal Attractions is X Factor 92. So, you know, yeah,
Yeah, I mean, look, it was a tumultuous end to a great run, but I think
yeah.
he even comes back though to X Factor, like we've kind of mentioned, right? Like and well, what year was it that he came back?
Well, oh, it was like 2004, 2005 when he came back from Madrix. Yeah, he does a
Mm.
Madrix mini. I want to say it's 2004. Yeah,
Yes, I
2004.
think
Yeah,
so. Yeah.
in 2004, he comes back to the X Factor family with a 5-issue miniseries based on Multiple Man called Madrix. The success of that series relaunched X Factor under his name, and it went for about 115 issues. And there's like some one shots here and there as well. And it follows basically all of these cast off characters from Marvel, like Layla Miller, who knows things. You got Strong Guy, Richter, M, Wolfsbane, Siren. What I love is he finally establishes that like Shatterstar and Richter are both gay, and
Mhm.
there's been hints of that throughout all the various books, but he finally like nope seals the deal in that book in his run. I think that's why he won the Glad Award for that run, if I'm not mistaken. And then the book gets a soft reboot again with like Polaris and Quicksilver and Gambit, but it only went like 20 issues before it got canceled. But
Mhm.
all told, like he gets back in there for a good chunk of issues. I mean, like
Yeah, I mean,
100, but
to be expected. I mean, with Peter David's stuff, everything's a good chunk of issues.
yeah. Um, Yeah, I I have such a fondness for this book, man. Like I really do. Like I didn't realize that he had jumped off so early because I will say the writer who took over, I want to say it was either Scott Lobdell or Fabian Naz, I can't pronounce his
It
last
was
name, but
it was Lobdell.
Lobdell,
Yeah.
like he maintains that humor level for a bit, you know what I mean? Like he tries to keep it funny, and then the book starts to get serious, like I said, with the death of Multiple Man, and then
Mhm.
like with Jamie having not Jamie, but with strong guy having a heart attack, and then it becomes more of it becomes very Suicide Squatty when you have like Forge take over for Valerie Cooper, and it's like Mystique is running the team and like all
Mm-hmm.
that kind of stuff. It's fine, but I really enjoyed when he came back, and I really have a fondness for these like first 20 issues. What about you, man? What was your
No, I
takeaway from it all?
again, like I said at the beginning of the episode, it's all the good stuff of the '90s that I liked. It's the writing was funny, the action was good, like the
Uh-huh.
paneling and the art was very good. The stories
Was.
made sense, the characters made sense, in
Mhm.
the it wasn't edgy for edgy's sake. It was edgy with a purpose, and
Yes,
um it
that's a
was
great way to look at it.
it's just a fun book. It does kind of have its, I think the Executioner song, for how good that is, does throw off the book, because
Yeah.
like we said, it just throughout it messed with the flow, so it messed with his own
Yeah. Yeah, and that's why he jumped ship. He was like,
exactly.
"This
So
all."
it's,
Yeah,
so
I get it.
I can't blame him for that. So, and
It was gonna happen again.
yeah, and
Yeah.
I think he made the right decision to
I will s
jump off, but still,
I will say though, him writing Bishop, Wolverine, and Cable together on Grey
that
Malkin,
was
like,
very
while they're
cool
like, I was like, "This is fine. These are
with
all
the
edgelord
Jay Lee,
characters." It
with
was
the
so fun,
yeah.
yeah. He's like, I like there's like scene where like Cable, he's like, how long will it take us to reprogram the machine? He's like, well, if I do them on myself, 25 minutes. What if we help you? Hour and a half. Okay.
Yeah,
Do you have
yeah,
some
yeah,
beer and do you have a beer and a deck of cards?
right. It's just he had some great Peter David sprinkle on
Yeah.
it, and but overall the X Factor book is great. I mean, again, the designs, his writing was just top notch. It was good '90s.
Yeah, it was good 90s,
It
which
was giving good
we
'90s.
joke. Well, and we kind of say, is there good 90s? Yes, there is.
Yeah,
Ironically enough, there's so much actually good 90s. It's just the 90s is a time when again sales were more important and art was more important, and like the poly bag and the multiple covers and the chromium covers and the hologram, all the gimmickry and BS and change for change sake and the darkness and the blades and the
yeah.
pouches and the big guns like that.
Holographic covers, things like, yeah,
Exactly. But, like, honestly, legitimately, there's some great books that came out of the '90s, and we make fun of it because of just how silly all that other stuff is, but this is one of the books that is, like, peak '90s in the best way possible.
Diamonds in the rough. Like, it was where
Yeah.
wait, there's a lot of edgy crap you have to shovel, but you get
Yep.
some good stuff
It's some
out
really
of
great
it.
stuff. I mean, look at Kingdom Come. Kingdom Come is a '90s book technically, but it's
Yeah.
like and it's dark and edgy, but it's like it's a response to that dark and edginess. You know what I mean?
Right. I mean, with the Superman, whatever happened to Truth, Justice, and I
Whatever
mean,
happened to them. Yep.
that was also a direct response to all that. So
Yeah.
it was just
Yeah. It's
so,
good
and
stuff. There's some really good stuff in the '90s.
but also speaking of
Um,
just like good '90s stuff, or just good similar reading, what kind of would you
well
say?
if you're looking for comedy books, because that's the thing is first and foremost, I mean, this is an X title. Yes, it's an X-Men book, but, like, honestly, legitimately, it's a funny book. If you're looking for something funny, I'm gonna turn to you and your boy, Keith Giffen,
Yeah.
and J.M. DeMatteis, and Kevin McGuire. Can you tell me what book that might be?
Oh, of course, it's Justice League. Their Justice League is
Justice League.
so amazing. The team that they have, and just it's the team is just first you can just say Blue Beetle and Booster Gold. That's all you need to
Booster
say.
Gold is
The
Martian Manhunter is
the
great
oh
in it.
gosh, the when they hide his cookies,
Oh, yeah.
it's some of the best. I when people ask me like funny stuff on comics, I just send them those pages where they're
Yeah.
just like, "What'd you do?" Like, we hit his Oreos, and then it's
Yeah.
you see them, you see Max Lord when he was a good guy, he's like trying to sell the Justice League, like, or give him like sponsorship or something. Like
Yeah.
his whole power is like he can
Manipulate.
manipulate your mind and stuff, but he like has a nosebleed when it happens. So he's just sitting there in this meeting, and all of a sudden you see uh Blue Beetle riding Booster Gold, like running away, going, yeah, and then you see Martian Manhunter as the Hulk basically chasing him, and then you see Maxwell Lord, like his nose just goes like it just spurts blood because he's trying to get the guy not to. I think it's so many good like so I have pictures of my iPhone for like just contacts and like literally
Yeah.
so my two of my best friends that I have on here is like you and my buddy Adam, who are both like on. You guys were groomsmen at my wedding, and I have you as Booster Gold in that moment, and then I have him as
Blue Beetle.
Blue Beetle in that moment. So
That's
it's just
that's
so many great.
wonderful.
I think it's not the same time, but I think the same book where I think it's the One Punch where Batman punches Guy
One
Gardner.
Punch.
And it's like
Guy
one punch,
Gardner,
that's
One
all it
Punch.
took.
I love Black Canary's like, I missed it.
Right, right. Hey,
Justice League or Justice League of America or Justice League International.
JLI
Just
or whatever. Anything Giffen Justice League, just go into like full
I
force.
love one of my favorite issues is it's an annual, I think, for America, Justice League America. And they retell Justice League in Antarctica. It's the
Yeah,
Justice
yeah.
League for it's
Well,
Nort
yeah,
and
I was about to say
just
Nord's part of it.
yeah, it's so much fun.
And there was like an
It's such
issue
a
too where the Booster Gold and Blue Beetle try to retrofit the Justice League headquarters as like a travel destination or like a resort and
yeah.
stuff. So there's just so many weird, fun stuff.
Yeah, if you're looking for a fun book along the lines of this book where you're looking for comedy, I Justice League, the Giffen stuff is just it's top notch.
Yeah.
Uh, another book which, you know, we've talked about Warren Ellis before, and I'm not gonna get into it here, but, the Next Wave book, I
Next
would say
Wave
is
is
a lot
so
of
good.
fun. Yeah, very it's only
I
12
love Next
issues.
Wave.
It's a lot of fun, and it's just misfits of the Marvel universe as a superhero team fighting weird stuff. I heard the way it was described to me, and I don't know if this is true or not, I have to research it, but he opened up the old Marvel, like, handbook that has all the characters, and, like,
Mm.
he just picked out the weirdest ones. He's like, "Okay, put them on a team together. Here we go," you know?
Which is with
Um,
the captain is a lot like his Jack Hawksmore too that he
yeah,
created.
yeah.
Um, and
I mean,
we if we're OG fans of We Got Issues, we actually talked about this on our public access show and on Alpha.
I'm sure we can just do a new episode.
Oh, you know we can. Oh, for sure. We for sure will. I'm just saying
Yeah, I know.
you people
Yeah,
might recognize that book. We talked
it's
about it.
funny. Another one is the Deadpool run by Joe Kelly. Like, I think that's a really fun, funny book. I'm not the hugest Deadpool fan, but
It
in the
depends
right
on who's
hands, like
writing them.
people like
Yeah.
Jerry Duggan and Brett Posehn or Joe Kelly and
Fabian.
Christopher Priest. Yeah, like it's just a fun book. It's just fun. And the last one I think is really funny is She-Hulk by Dan Slott.
That's a very good one. Yeah.
Yeah, it's a lot of fun.
Also, just adding, not the last one, but adding, but Superior Foes of Spider-Man. That's also a very funny, fun
Oh,
book.
that's with Nick Spencer and Steve Lieber.
Yeah, that's really fun.
That's a good one. I forgot about that one.
Funny book.
Yeah, if you're looking for there's so many good, like, because obviously there's comedy books, but, like, superhero comedies are, like, kind of few and far between because it's hard sometimes to write that to have that
Yeah.
good back and forth in comedy. If you're looking for books by Peter David, what would you recommend, Josh?
Which ones? I mean, probably not as Hulk, right? Because we didn't talk about that too much. No,
No,
it's
but
Incredible Hulk. I'm just saying, it's Incredible Hulk. It's definitely something to
it's a
get
lot.
into. Yeah, I know.
It's
Exactly.
140
Uh,
issues there.
yeah, but definitely, I mean,
Not
it's
including spinoffs.
right. But it's definitely
Oh,
worth
yeah.
getting into. Then we talked about it, a little bit too. Is X Factor's second run
Yeah,
on X
second run on
Factor?
X
It's a
Factor.
really fun one.
Absolutely. If you like this book, you should immediately go get
Yeah.
that book next and just get into it.
It reminds me of what's the best way to put it? It definitely kind of reminds me of do you ever read or hear about the Dresden Files? It's just that it's that not noir, but just
I
that
know that name, but
yeah,
I don't know enough
it's
about
I
it.
don't know, it's just more of just like a private detective type of stories that are just fun.
Okay.
Stuff like that. So that's what just reminds me of. I'm in his Aquaman, of course. I mean,
Aquaman.
it's kind of like any Peter David stuff.
Yeah, I mean, honestly, Aquaman, Young Justice, Supergirl, Spider-Man 2099, any of his Spider-Man stuff, like, just if you see Peter David's name on a book, you can pretty much guarantee you're gonna enjoy it. You know what I mean? Like, it's not gonna be a bad book. It's kind of like Mark Waid. Again, I know I bring up Mark Waid a lot, but it's like you see that there's certain pedigree out there, you're like, yeah,
Right.
you're gonna get a good story out of it. It may not be the greatest story, but you're gonna get a good story out of it. And, like, the one stuff that he gets longer runs on, I think that lends itself to like being in your collection because it's like, oh, he this gives it a chance to like develop storylines and develop characters, and these characters will not be the same as they are at the end. That is the thing, and that is the thing he's always been. It's like he doesn't reset the book by the end, and oh, we got to have them all reset. You know, it's like no,
Right.
these characters grow. There's character change, and it's what you want to see.
Yeah, and one of his last ones too is the Maestro
Yeah,
prequel, or just
he
I
had
guess
two
you
of
used
them,
to call it like Origin. I think it was like three.
two or
It,
three. Yeah, but it was like the
it was
origin
all
story,
one
Maestro.
big storyline and just
Yeah,
broken up. But
I think
I
they're gonna do it
definitely
as an
read that.
omnibus. I think yeah, they're gonna do it as an omni soon with all of that stuff because unfortunately he passed. And again, we mentioned earlier, if you're a fan of Star Trek, go check out New Frontier, Q and Law, Vendetta, Q Squared, Imzadi, like any of his stuff. You see, if you're a Star Trek fan and you see Peter David's name on a book, it's worth reading. Again, I there's a reason Peter David is just he was given his own corner to do what he wanted in Star Trek. That tells you something.
Tells you
Anyway,
something.
but I digress.
Brian's a big Star Trek nerd.
No, not really.
No, just a little bit. It's
So I've watched
a
an
little bit.
episode.
I've dabbled. So Brian, what are your final thoughts on Peter David? I mean, it's a huge loss for the comic book community, of course, and it's a
I
huge. He's been a huge, prolific, just addition to the mythos of comic books
yeah,
itself. Like he's definitely up. He gets a gold jacket. Like he gets
yes,
the Hall of Fame.
absolutely, yeah.
He's up there.
He only won like one Eisner Award over his entire career. I was looking at it, I was like, wait,
Hmm.
what? Like that's insane to me. The dude legitimately he's just great and it's just consistent, just like one of those, it's like he always got you on base. If not a home run, you're at least getting a triple out of him. You know what I mean? Like,
Yeah.
you're always, yeah,
Gonna get your money's worth. That's what's
yes.
the main thing.
I kind of wrote something up, but I was just to say Peter David is legitimately one of my favorite writers of all time. I use a program to like track all of my comics, and I don't even, and he accounts like for like 500 actual individual issues in my comics, and I don't even have like his best works. I don't have his Aquaman stuff in comics. I don't have most of his Supergirl stuff in comics. I only have like maybe a fifth of his Incredible Hulk stuff in singles. I have it all in trades and hardcovers, but even without that, he is in my like top 10 writers. He's like my number 9 of most issues collected in my collection.
Oh
I've
wow.
read I literally have read his Star Trek novels like exclusively. And if like I won't read any other, I've tried to read other writers and they just don't click. He clicked. I would read if I saw his name on a Star Trek book, picked it up. You know, um, if I was ever on the fence on a book, if his name was on it, I'd buy it instantly. Um, he
There's a
was one of the
Wade.
best.
He's a
Yeah,
Wade for
yeah,
you.
he was. Yeah, he was. He was one of the best, and the world just became a little bit less special with him gone. Thankfully, we do have all of his comics, and I don't have time in my life right now to go back and reread all 130 plus issues of his X Factor run, but I'm gonna make time, you know, because like his Captain Marvel stuff, his Incredible Hulk, and so on. He's gonna be missed.
Yeah. Again, like it's a big hole that he's leaving, and it's I mean,
Yeah.
and with the Maestro stuff, him and Perez, just those two together was just so good.
Prez would have been, I think, 71 this week.
And
And it's just we've talked about George Perez, but, like, it's just I know that we all get older, it's just some of these guys, like, damn,
yeah,
damn,
it's just
damn.
it it hurts. It sucks.
It
But
hurts.
I
It
mean,
does.
the best thing we can do is go out, read his stuff, buy,
Yep. Yeah,
um,
honor him,
honor him,
talk
and
about
just
him.
talk about like we did on this
Yeah.
super packed
I have
episode.
I have nothing but good things to say about the
Right.
man. I'm sure he's done some stuff that probably I know that there's a few controversies here and there, but I'm not gonna get into that. Like, I legitimately just Peter David's he's like you said, he gets a gold jacket, you know what I mean?
And please go and read his stuff. Like
Yeah.
we've mentioned a lot of his stuff that you can get into. Just go out there and read the books,
Yeah.
even the Star Trek ones if you want.
Well, like I said, we just use X Factor as a jumping on point to kind of just talk about, what you could expect. I mean, like I said, if we were to do the Incredible Hulk, it would be a
A
God, it would
multi-part,
just take it'd have
multi-parter.
to be like the Invincibles. Yeah, because it's almost as many issues as Invincible. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? Yeah. Anyway. But I
Well,
digress.
yeah. So I mean, with that, I mean, that's kind of what we really have to talk about with Peter David. He will be missed. He's going to be um just it's been fun rereading his stuff. That's just the
Yeah.
thing. I think that's been the fun part about this. So, um,
Nice.
well, with this, O'Brien, what
On that
we
note,
read other stuff. We read other stuff.
yes.
So, what do you have recommendation? What are your recommendations for? Like, what are you reading now?
Yeah, I unfortunately said I was working on that IGN live gig, and unfortunately, I didn't get a chance. My stack of comics is pretty high right now, and most of the stuff I read was, I want to say, mediocre at best. Because I try and like,
Mediocre.
well, no, because I try and stack like I know when I look at a book, I'm like, I'm probably not going to enjoy this as much. I put my bad stuff first, so I can always end on like a dessert. You know what I mean? So I don't have any real books to recommend this week. I will say I did pick up there's a website called Sketched, SKTCHD. I believe it's a comic book literary website where it's like guy does like, really long form essays about comics. Anyway, he put out a zine and a collection of stories, not stories, but articles in paper form that I just picked that up. It's fun if you're interested in like some more literary stuff. But the one thing I really do want to recommend if you're in the LA area, there's a Jack Kirby retrospective going on right now at the Skirball at the Getty Center. It's on for about a year. Dude, they have everything about Jack Kirby there. I mean, they have like Fantastic Four #1s there, his
Wow.
Captain America. Yeah. So not only do they actually have the comics, they also have like his life story, which I've recently gotten into. But if you're in the LA area, I highly recommend go to the Skirball. It's going to be there until I think June of next year or May of next year. So you got time, but you
I
should do
saw
yourself a favor, check it out.
I saw pictures that your wife put on Facebook of you basically being a tour guide, like the
Yeah.
the unemployed
Yeah.
the
Oh,
unhired tour guide.
yeah, I walk up and these, like, older ladies are like, "Oh, this is so neat." I'm like, "Oh, Jack Kirby's awesome." Like, "Oh, tell us about it." I'm like, "Alright, are
Oh,
you
baby,
sure?"
do you know what you have done? Like,
And, like, I'm telling this whole story about him in World War II and this and, like, literally the one woman is just crying. She's like, "Oh my god." I'm
oh
like,
my
"Yeah, he
god,
was awesome."
oh my
Like,
goodness,
"Oh my god." I'm like, "I'm so sorry, I can stop talking." Like, "No, tell us more." And my wife's like,
and
"Don't. You've just opened up Pandora's box."
and then he used to get high in a hotel room with Will Simonson. Um,
Oh, but it's good. Yeah, anyway, there's some great art. I mean, we're talking like just his collages and there's the paintings he did for like Paul
oh wow,
McCartney and just like it's really neat. Like it's literally I think it's like Paul McCartney and Linda fighting like Magneto or something. It's like
oh that's
there's
very
so
cool.
many cool things there. There's so many cool things. Check it
I
out.
was yeah, I'll
What about
check.
you, man?
I'm in the
You
Los
should.
Angeles
You
area.
live down the road, man. Just get on the 405, cut on down, boom, you're there.
Like make it sound so like the Californians. You get on the phone,
California.
boy, and you
Dude, that
get
was
off.
me this oh, man, that was me literally, I'm like, "Yeah, I took down the 101 to the
Yeah.
took the 134 to the 101, took out 405, would cut down Pico." That was, like, my
Goodness.
life
Oh
for that
no.
IGN gig, man, it was the worst.
Ugh.
Like, in terms of traveling,
Yeah, yeah,
like,
yeah.
the job wasn't the worst, but it
The
was the
travel, yeah, the
epitome of
traffic.
yeah. Yeah, California travel. Anyway, what
Yeah,
about
so
you, man?
my
What have you been reading?
recommendation, so, the second issue of the book that I like right now is Daredevil: A Cold Day in Hell with,
I have that issue.
yeah, which is written by Charles Soule, and it's,
Yeah.
drawn by Steve McNiven,
Steve
which is great.
McNiven, yeah.
And
Yeah.
this
It's not
is
typical McNiven either.
no, actually, you know what? It's what's kinda awesome, and especially in this issue, is that
Yeah.
his art is very Frank Miller-ish.
Interesting, yeah.
Frank Miller-ish, yeah.
Ish? No, yeah. Yeah.
Ish. Um, it's great. It's kind of like what was
Well,
it?
it's Old Man Logan,
It's Old Man
kind of.
Logan, but it's what that Spider-Man Dark Reign wanted to be.
Oh, yeah, yeah, by
Yeah,
Gary
so
Ander.
it's basically it's an old Daredevil that's kind of brought back into being a superhero through just different means of just crime that's happened. He's been a priest. He's been he's lost his powers and stuff, and then all of a sudden an
Yeah.
accident gives him his powers back, and he kind of is going to basically fight the whoever the newest kingpin is, which is Bullseye.
Oh, I read the 1st issue and was blown away by it, and it's like a 3-issue mini, right?
I think is it 3 or 5? It is
Doesn't
three. It's
either
three issue.
way.
It's three
Yeah.
issues, but they're long issues. They're like
The
43
1st issue was
pages.
Yeah, the first
So
issue
it's the
is
second.
really good. Yeah. I know the second. I
Okay.
again have it,
Yeah.
but it got moved into the good portion of the pile,
Right.
which I don't read until I get to the end.
But no, it's very good. I mean, I've heard this somewhere, but it's Daredevil is like a breeding ground of good writers for Marvel. Like it's
Yeah.
a lot of writers who are good have always done well on Daredevil, like Bendis or Miller or Wade or
Mark Wade
yeah,
or Kevin Smith or,
Smith.
Ann Nesenti
Fraction
or
did
Joe
Fraction do Daredevil?
Kelly, Matt Fraction. No, it was Chip Zdarsky did a
Yeah,
run on there. Charles Soule did.
Brubaker.
Brubaker did a run. Yeah, Charles Soule did. Andy Diggle
Yeah,
did a run. Like, yeah, it's Joe Kelly did a run, I believe. I want to say it was Joe Kelly, Gene Colan. Anyway, yeah, Daredevil is just like it's a writer's book, you know.
and
It
this one
was.
definitely is. It's a fun. I mean, it's not. I don't want to say fun. It's a great book right
Oh,
now. Yeah,
it's fun. I think you can say fun. It's
Mm.
heavy, but I
It's
think it's
heavy. Yeah,
fun. Yeah.
and it's definitely gritty, but a good gritty. Again, like we've been saying, edge, but good edge. It's gritty, but good gritty.
Yeah.
It's kind of
Nice.
yeah. It's almost like
I gotta move it. I
McNiven was
might move
doing
that
Old
one up
Man
to the
Logan.
top of the stack because I can't keep reading shit.
Yeah,
I need to
I
have like
would. Yeah,
at
I
least
would
a cherry in there every once in a while.
exactly. Yeah, maybe have like so dessert. So you just have one bite of the cookie before you get into the rest of the
Yeah.
um stuff.
The
So
broccoli.
yeah, exactly. No, it's a fun book and definitely check again, it's only the second issue that's out. So and there are big issues. So that too. So I would put that in the middle or up in your stack too, because it's a long issue. So you just want to get through it.
Sounds good. All
All
right.
right, everybody. So that is the end of this episode of our
Very long episode, but we
you know
don't.
what? Peter David deserved a
Peter
long
David
episode.
deserved it. Yes, he
So
did.
this is one I'm not adverse to having a long
Yeah.
episode about this one. But thank you for sticking with us and listening to us throughout this one. And please make sure to subscribe and hit us on Instagram. We're on Instagram, like
The
I
Blue
said,
Skin.
Blue Sky. Brian, you're the BComp on
The BComp. Yeah.
Blue Sky. We're We Got Issues, and then We Got Issues Cast on Instagram. If you liked the episode, please give us 5 stars and recommend to your friends. If you didn't like the episode, just give us 5 stars and recommend to your friends. If you haven't
Thank
even
you.
listened to it yet, which I don't know how you would do that
Get
while
to
you're
this
hearing
point.
me now. 5 stars and recommend to your friends. So we just want more people to start listening to us and stuff.
Yeah.
I mean, as any podcast would. I don't know why I'm saying it because it's just a long episode. You know what I'm saying.
Whatever.
Please tell your friends. And if you have something you want us to chat about, let us know on Instagram or even on the comments on we're on YouTube, we're on Spotify, we're on SoundCloud, we're on Apple Podcasts.
Or in person if you run into me.
Or in person if you run into Brian. Yeah, because I never leave the house. So and then thank you for the people who have commented on. We've seen some of the comments on YouTube and on Spotify. I appreciate it. I appreciate the
We do.
the love. We appreciate the love. So, yeah. So teaser for next episode is actually we are going to do Punisher the Platoon for real this time.
Knock on wood.
Knock on wood. Oh yeah, please nobody else die. I mean, really.
Yeah.
That's
Please,
bad.
not just for us, but just please don't.
Yeah. But yeah, we're going to be talking about that book and just how it's an offshoot origin of the Punisher. It's just a different Punisher book that's not a typical one that's in a lot of people's libraries. So
Yeah.
anything else, Brian, before we head on out?
I think that's it, my friend.
Awesome. Well, again, thank you everybody for listening, and we'll see you on the next one.
Peace.